Chapter 181 The Foundation of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Black Disgust Demon King Guan pushed the door open and saw Xinjun sitting in his chair reading a book. He noticed that Xinjun's cultivation level had improved significantly, so he threw a lifespan detection at her. Xinjun, Core Formation Realm. 9th layer 130/760/2560 Huh? How did her maximum lifespan increase? Guan remembered her maximum lifespan was just over 1,000 years, but now it had doubled. Could she really gain enlightenment from the painting? Guan closed the door, then walked to the desk and asked, "Why are you here?" Xinjun put down her book, smiled, and said, "What? I can't come? It looks like you're having such a good time with your Taoist friend that you don't want me to show up." Guan shot her a glance and said, "I don't have a Taoist friend. Isn't the great cultivator in your valley trying to take you as her Taoist friend? She's highly cultivated and extremely beautiful. No normal man could refuse her." Xinjun looked him up and down with a slightly teasing tone. Guan raised his eyebrow and said, "I'm not a normal man. If she wants to be my Taoist friend, she needs to become an immortal first." Xinjun laughed, saying, "If she becomes an immortal, do you think she'll still look at you? By that time, would you even still be here? You can't spend your days fantasizing about an immortal descending to favor you, can you?" Guan sat down and laughed. "I'm a writer like you. Writers love to fantasize, don't they?" "Makes sense. I fantasize about Sword Venerable Fudao appearing before me and taking me as his Taoist friend." Xinjun nodded, then looked at Guan to see his reaction. Guan seriously responded, "What if it happens? I think there's hope." Xinjun pursed her lips before continuing, "Recently, I've gained many insights from a painting and captured the aura of a supreme treasure. So I'm planning to go treasure hunting. Will you join me?" "Treasure hunting?" Guan quickly shook his head and said, "The world is in chaos now. Going out is like seeking death. I won't go." Xinjun furrowed her brows and said, "That painting came from the imperial palace of the Great Yu dynasty, a gift from the former emperor to my father. It is said to be over 6,000 years old. I can sense that the treasure within it is extraordinary and not just one. Such an opportunity is seldom seen. I'm only sharing it with you." Guan replied, "Thanks for your kindness, Miss Shun, but it'll pass. With my cultivation level, I'd only be a burden to you." Xinjun's expression darkened. Just when Guan thought she was about to get angry, her tone shifted and she asked, "How is your relationship with Lu Lingjun? Do you think she is trustworthy? You want to invite her for the treasure hunt?" "Yes, I can sense that the place is beyond my ability to handle alone. She should be trustworthy, but I can't guarantee it completely. You should know, people's hearts are inscrutable. Can you introduce me to her? With you as the middleman, if she still intends to harm me, she wouldn't be able to face you afterward." Seeing Xinjun smile, Guan realized this was her true intention. Guan thought about it and agreed. Later, he took Xinjun to find Lu Lingjun. Lu Lingjun occasionally went out, but most of the time she stayed under the mystic pure tree, seeking enlightenment. After learning about Guan and Xinjun's request, she was indifferent until Xinjun took out the painting, at which point she was moved. Guan sensed a hint of Mahayana realm aura from the painting, indicating there truly was a supreme treasure at that place. Soon the two women set off. Guan rarely came to the mystic pure tree and decided to lie against the trunk, closing his eyes for some rest. He began recalling everything he had seen recently, the scenes of slaughter persistently replaying in his mind. Until evening, Guan left the third medicine valley. The moonlight was cool, and a ghostly wind blew through the mountains and forests. Ji Xiaoyu sat meditating under the tree, resting with her eyes closed. She heard footsteps nearby and couldn't help but open her eyes to see. It was none other than Guan, transformed into Sword Venerable Fudao. Ji Xiaoyu stood up and greeted him with a raised hand. "Senior, I have obtained some information about the Seven Stars Spirit Realm." "Go ahead," Guan said coldly. Ji Xiaoyu began to recount the information, and Guan listened attentively. She had learned that the Seven Stars Spirit Realm intended to seal off the seas around the continent, and were establishing a dynasty in the northern part of the continent. That dynasty consisted solely of descendants of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm cultivators, and had been around for 400 years. Within the seven-star spirit realm, their claim was that the Holy Land must not interfere with the evolution of the continent, but they needed to leave human lineage behind, hence the establishment of a new human dynasty in the north. This was how it had always been. The current lands of the three dynasties were also formed by descendants of seven-star spirit realm cultivators from long ago. The seven-star spirit realm was divided into 7 grotto heaven sects, the strongest being 1-star cave. The Ji family could only interact with 7 stars cave. Ji Xiaoyu found out that the strongest cultivator was the cave master of 7 stars cave, said to be an immortal, and within the 7 stars cave, there were as many as 20 Mahayana realm cultivators, and these were just the elders on the surface. Guan was also surprised by the strength of the 7-star spirit realm. The weakest 7 stars cave had 20 Mahayana realm cultivators and 1 immortal. How terrifying must the whole 7-star spirit realm be? The reason I came to find you now is that I've noticed the 7 stars cave is wary of me. While I was cultivating, I could clearly sense a divine sense watching me, so I took the chance to escape. From now on it will be hard for me to return, Ji Xiaoyu said, looking at Guan. She knew that the information she provided wasn't much, which could affect her cooperation with Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Ever since she learned that Sword Venerable Fu Dao had killed the demon master with a single slash, she had faith in him. If anyone in this world could challenge the 7-star spirit realm, it would only be Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Guan said, "If you can't go back, stay in the Supreme Sect. When the demon calamity is over, we need the combined strength of the 3 dynasties to fight against the 7-star spirit realm." Ji Xiaoyu nodded. "I have been to the minor heaven and earth of the 7 stars cave. They have nearly 2 million disciples. Their cultivation levels generally higher than those in the immortal cultivation world. The 7-star spirit realm has become a world of its own, indeed needing the combined strength of the 3 dynasties. When you contact the Ji family, try not to alert the enemy. The fight against the 7-star spirit realm cannot be rushed," Guan reminded her. Ji Xiaoyu nodded. Then Guan disappeared into thin air. Ji Xiaoyu turned and walked deeper into the forest. Approaching the end of summer, urgent news from the Northern Territory arrived. The immortal cultivation world ultimately failed to resist the onslaught of the demon calamity. The human race alliance was forced to retreat, and the Tianwei dynasty was similarly affected. The human race had to resort to scattered warfare. Though the Taizong dynasty was not impacted by the surge of demons, there were more and more demons within the dynasty, seemingly endless. The number of demons Guan killed each month kept increasing, and his lifespan had already surpassed 4 million years. Although it was still far from 100 million years, Guan was not fixated on the next lifespan ability. The threat from the 7-star spirit realm was too great. As soon as a wandering immortal appeared on the continent, he would break through immediately. Even if his lifespan accumulated to over 90 million years, he would still break through. Lifespans are just numbers. Surviving is the most important. One day, Guan returned to the Mystic Valley, changed into his usual robe, and walked downstairs. He didn't head to the 3rd Medicine Valley. Instead, he looked into the distance. He sensed a demon energy approaching the Supreme Sect, about 5,000 miles away in a forest, seemingly waiting for something. Tens of thousands of miles further, another stronger demon energy was approaching. It seemed there would be some excitement tonight. As dusk approached, Dixia left the city and headed towards the demon energy. An ancient hour later, under the cover of night, Dixia arrived in the forest and looked at the red-scaled little snake on the branch, frowning as he asked, "Why are you here? Where is the Black Crow demon envoy?" The red-scaled little snake replied, "After he came to find you, he disappeared. He was likely killed by Sword Venerable Fu Dao." Upon hearing this, Dixia's expression changed slightly. He finally understood why he was still alive. Sword Venerable Fu Dao must have heard what he said and thus spared him. How terrifying was Sword Venerable Fu Dao? They had concealed their demon energy and stayed outside the Supreme Sect. Yet Sword Venerable Fu Dao still noticed? Since that's the case, why do you dare show up? Dixia sneered. The red-scaled little snake said, "His Majesty sent me. He wants me to deliver a message to Sword Venerable Fu Dao about the demon calamity. but I don't know where Sword Venerable Fudao is. So you called me out? Don't tell me you think I've met Sword Venerable Fudao? Dixia scoffed. The red-scaled little snake flicked its tongue and said, Dixia, there's no need to hold such animosity towards your father. Most of the time he is helpless. Do you think it was your father's idea to resurrect the demon ancestor? Wasn't it? Could the demon master have forced my father? Exactly, he could. The red-scaled little snake's answer made Dixia frown. It continued, the demon master's cultivation level is indeed lower than His Majesty's, but there are more powerful beings behind him that His Majesty does not dare provoke. Moreover, His Majesty has lost control over the demon calamity. If you leave the Supreme Sect and see for yourself, you will understand that the demons invading the human race have all turned into demons, with violent temperaments, including the great demon kings. Dixia fell into silence. The red-scaled little snake went on. The demon master said that the demon ancestor is only a soul shell without self-awareness, but this is not true. His Majesty cannot control the demon ancestor, nor can he control the world's demons. His Majesty worries that the demon calamity targets not just the human race, but also the demon clan. Dixia took a deep breath and asked, so he wants to talk with Sword Venerable Fudao to deal with the demon calamity together? Correct, the red-scaled little snake answered. It was about to speak when it suddenly turned its head towards the depths of the forest on the western side, asking, Who's there? Dixia also turned to look, seeing a figure slowly walking out of the darkness. When the two demons saw the true form of the newcomer, their faces changed drastically. The red-scaled little snake even trembled all over. Black Disgust Demon King Yu, the red-scaled little snake said tremulously, filled with fear. Dixia was equally tense. A man in red emerged from the darkness, his hair disheveled and his feet bare. He looked like a human with no demon traits, except for his pale complexion and the sinister air between his brows. The Black Disgust Demon King revealed a sinister smile and mockingly said, The demon calamity has been ongoing for so long, and the demon emperor has yet to make a move. I was curious about the reason, so I followed you to the Supreme Sect. I didn't expect that His Majesty intends to yield to humans. I will not allow it. Tonight, His words were abruptly cut off by a hand suddenly resting on his shoulder. Chapter 182. Too frightening. The Black Disgust Demon King felt his right shoulder being pressed. Instinctively, he wanted to leap away, but his demonic power instantly solidified, making it impossible to move. His expression changed drastically, and a sense of panic instinctively arose in his heart. The red-scaled little snake and Dixia widened their eyes. They saw a shadowy figure appear behind the Black Disgust Demon King. A mysterious figure shrouded in dark purple demonic aura. Sword Venerable Fudao. Dixia immediately guessed the true identity of the shadowy figure, his entire body stiffening with fear. He dared not move, but the Black Disgust Demon King could not move. Guan stood behind the Black Disgust Demon King. He initially wanted to hear some information from the demon, but then thought better of it. There was no need to listen. A soul search would suffice. Confirming that the Black Disgust Demon King had animosity towards humans was enough. The Black Disgust Demon King tried his hardest, but could not mobilize his demonic power or perform primordial spirit emergence. With his peripheral vision, he vaguely saw a figure, and his fear reached its peak. Having lived for over 10,000 years, he had never been so terrified. Even when he lost to the Demon Emperor in the past, he had not been this scared. This was a fear of the unknown. The opponent suppressed him with one hand, shattering his understanding. He struggled to open his mouth to speak, but suddenly a terrifying divine sense invaded his mind, causing his eyes to instantly lose their luster. The red-scaled little snake quickly jumped down from the branch, crawling on the ground and trembling, saying, I mean no harm. Senior, please do not kill me. Dixia remained silent, knowing that Sword Venerable Fudao would not kill him, but the sudden appearance still scared him. This reminded him of the scene when the Demon Master was killed. What kind of cultivation level did Sword Venerable Fudao have? Even though the Black Disgust Demon King was not one of the 72 great demon kings, his cultivation was not much weaker than the Demon Master's. His domain was an area that Dixia's father, the emperor's father could not conquer. Seeing that sword, Venerable Fudao did not respond. Dixia and the red-scaled little snake could only wait. They dared not run. With the black disgust demon king subdued, where could they run? As for attacking sword Venerable Fudao, that would be seeking death. So this is sword Venerable Fudao. The rumors are true. The red-scaled little snake thought in fear. It had heard that the demon master was killed by sword Venerable Fudao with one axe. Although it seemed absurd and exaggerated, the fact that sword Venerable Fudao could kill the demon master was enough to instill fear. When the demon emperor assigned it this task, it was nearly in despair. Along the way, it had managed to adjust its mindset. That night it almost collapsed again. Too frightening. No, too terrifying for demons. This was scarier than meeting the demon ancestor. After all, the demon ancestor would not appear suddenly. The two demons waited for 2 ancient hours, with each second feeling like an eternity. At this moment, Guan's right hand ignited with cyan flames, quickly enveloping the black disgust demon king. Under the watchful eyes of both demons, the black disgust demon king was reduced to ashes in an instant, without even leaving behind his soul. You have successfully taken 7,090 years of lifespan from the black disgust demon king. Nirvana realm 3rd layer. Not bad. It was worth coming out. From the black disgust demon king's memories, he was a renowned genius among the demon clan. He once overshadowed the demon emperor. Unfortunately, the demon emperor later had a great opportunity and surpassed him. If he had not come to the supreme sect, he could have lived for another 70,000 years. Was it not good to stay alive? Why cause trouble? Guan thought silently, his gaze turning to the red-scaled little snake. The black disgust demon king's demon core was now in Guan's hand. He deposited it into his storage bag for future needs. Unfortunately, the black disgust demon king did not carry a storage bag or storage ring. This guy was too arrogant, having not used a magic artifact for many years. The red-scaled little snake hurriedly said, "Senior, are you sword Venerable Fudao?" Although it had already guessed, it still had to ask because it concerned the task assigned by the demon emperor. Guan responded with a sound. The red-scaled little snake breathed a sigh of relief and continued. His Majesty the Demon Emperor asked me to come, hoping to join forces with you to resist the entity behind the Demon Master and the Demon Ancestor. After the great demon calamity ends, the demon clan wishes to coexist peacefully with the human race. After all, this continent is vast, and there is no need for one race to be exterminated. Who is behind the Demon Master? Guan asked. From the black disgust demon king's memories, there was no mention of the demon master's benefactor or interaction with cultivators from the 7-star spirit realm. However, he was a confidant of the demon master, a chess piece cultivated by the demon master, deliberately kept out of the 72 great demon kings to counter the expanding power of the demon emperor. The red-scaled little snake replied. His Majesty said that entity calls itself the heavenly destiny ancestor, whether human or demon is unclear. Its cultivation level is tremendously powerful, capable of easily sealing His Majesty's demonic power. The heavenly destiny ancestor is likely a legendary loose immortal, 2 grand realms higher than the Mahayana realm. Loose immortal. It was the first time Dixia had heard of this realm. He stood on the side, very restrained. Guan asked, "Specifics on how to cooperate?" He needed to see sincerity. The red-scaled little snake said, "His Majesty is in the demon land, inconvenient for initiating war, but he will send demons to support the human race. These demons are secretly cultivated by him, and at the time, they can fight as demon companions of the Supreme Sect, led by Dixia himself. His Majesty can externally declare Dixia a traitor." How many demons, what realms? 3 Mahayana, 10 Mystic Heart, and 1,000 demon troops, with the lowest cultivation level at Void Crossing. This statement left Dixia astonished, looking at the red-scaled little snake. He did not realize how many great demons his father secretly cultivated. It seemed his father had long planned. Dixia's face showed a smile. It was the first time he acknowledged his father. Guan also felt the demon emperor's sincerity. This force indeed could assist the human race. Seeing that sword, Venerable Fudao remained silent, the red-scaled little snake added, "Since ancient times, demons exterminated humans, humans exterminated demons over and over. Only the Holy Lands endured. His Majesty finds it odd and wishes to change this situation. To use a line from your Supreme Immortal Venerable's book, how can wrongs be righted if both seek revenge endlessly?" Guan turned and left a sentence. "Let him take you to meet the elders of the Supreme Sect." He walked into the darkness, as if he had never appeared. "Thank you, Sword Venerable, for your kindness. In the future, when the continent is peaceful, the demon clan will remember your grace." The red-scaled little snake shouted excitedly, feeling thrilled. Dixie bowed to Guan, his courtesy proper. For a long time the red-scaled little snake sighed in relief, saying, "Sword Venerable is really scary. That was the Black Disgust Demon King. And he died so easily, without even a chance to resist." Dixie's eyes showed determination, saying, "Just as you said, how can wrongs be righted if both seek revenge endlessly? In the end, the heavens are watching. Perhaps Sword Venerable Fudao is the savior who will change the continent's suffering." The red-scaled little snake nodded in agreement. The autumn scenery covered the mountains and rivers. Guan wandered in the Third Medicine Valley, inspecting each garden area, with an Exian accompanying him. A month had passed since the night when the Black Disgust Demon King was killed. The Supreme Sect remained calm, but Guan noticed that on the edge of the Supreme Sect, a large number of disciples were building teleportation arrays, with Dixie among them. It was evident that the Supreme Sect was willing to cooperate with the Demon Clan. At this critical moment, the human race was constantly retreating, and the situation grew increasingly dire. The Supreme Sect planned to take a risk, counting on Sword Venerable Fudao. After a while, Guan stopped, giving an Exian a few instructions, and then left alone. Watching Guan's back, an Exian blinked. She felt that her master's presence had become even more outstanding, giving her an indescribable feeling. It was this presence that made her increasingly cling to Guan. Seeing him appear, she wanted to be close. Even if they did not speak, she did not feel bored. Guan used sword control to fly swiftly to the transmission array platform, and headed to Mystic Valley. After arriving in Mystic Valley, he left quietly, not going to Tianya Valley, but to another territory of the Taitsong dynasty. In a forest, trees were toppled, blood and flesh everywhere, all demon corpses, a ghastly sight. Zhang Buku, covered in blood, leaned against a mountain wall, panting heavily, his long hair matted with blood-forming strands. His chest was covered with gruesome wounds, his eyes full of exhaustion. He had fought another fierce battle. Since the great demon calamity erupted, he often encountered demons wanting to eat him. Even those evil spirits would attack him. Practically every 3 or 4 days, he had to fight. Constantly wounded, constantly healing, narrowly escaping death, he was too tired. Many times he wanted to give up, but whenever he thought of Martial Uncle Gus' encouragement, he found strength, gritting his teeth to persevere. I wonder if Martial Uncle Gu is doing well. Now that there are more powerful demons rampant in the world, I hope he does not encounter danger. Zhang Buku looked at his bloody hands, thinking silently. He had no family left in the world, not even friends. He could only think of Martial Uncle Gu to divert his attention and lessen his pain. He did not notice that above him, a figure was watching him. It was Guan. Guan had hidden his presence, making it impossible for Zhang Buku to detect him with his level of Dao. Seeing Zhang Buku's injuries, Guan could not help but feel compassionate. Since their last parting, Guan occasionally used his divine sense to observe Zhang Buku. According to Guan's observation, Zhang Buku was kinder than most people in the world. He never bullied anyone or any demon. When encountering the weak, he would step forward, but few people or demons would accept him. Even if saved by him, they would part ways after a few days. Zhang Buku had always been seeking companions to alleviate his loneliness. No matter how many times he was injured, he never harbored resentment. The most despondent time for him was when he met Guan previously and wanted to commit suicide. With such a temperament and such experiences, Guan ultimately could not bear it and decided to help him. He performed the divine power of heaven and earth 9 transformations, transforming into a sparrow, descending in front of Zhang Buku. He chirped a few times, catching Zhang Buku's attention. Zhang Buku looked at it, a strained smile appearing on his face, saying, "Little sparrow, are you concerned about me?" Guan hopped forward and then turned back, chirping again. Zhang Buku did not respond, so Guan hopped forward again and turned back once more. This time, Zhang Buku understood. He endured his pain and asked, "Do you want me to follow you?" The sparrow chirped again. Zhang Buku, seeing this, forced himself to stand up and limped after the sparrow. He left a long trail of blood, and as the sun shone on him, the blood began to glisten. Chapter 183. Master Zhang Buku followed the sparrow, passing through the forest. Although his injuries were severe, his physique was strong. He had suffered such injuries before and only needed a month to recover. However, he hadn't rested for long before he began his journey again. The exhaustion rushed over him like a tide, testing his willpower. After walking several miles, he could hardly hold on, and wanted to lay down for a sleep. The sparrow's chirping kept urging him forward, and he had no choice but to continue. Gradually, Zhang Buku's eyelids grew heavier and his steps became more sluggish. Guan did not help him, only kept urging him on. It was unclear how much time had passed. Finally, unable to endure any longer, Zhang Buku collapsed on the hillside and lost consciousness completely. Sunset and moonrise. A night passed. Zhang Buku's eyelids fluttered. His consciousness gradually returned, and he slowly opened his eyes. The sunlight falling on him made him feel warm. At this moment, a few small birds were perched on his body. Sensing his movement, they all flew away. Zhang Buku opened his mouth, feeling his throat dry. He struggled to get up and looked around, but the sparrow that had led the way was nowhere in sight. His brow furrowed, and he prepared to go downhill to find a place to clean his wounds. He suddenly sensed a faint demonic energy he had never encountered before, inexplicably compelling him to approach. After hesitating for a moment, he took a step forward. He walked around the hillside to the other side, and pushed aside the weeds in front of a rock wall to reveal a rather small cave entrance. He began to dig through the soil. After resting for a night, his strength had recovered considerably. An hour later, he crawled into a tunnel. After crawling for a long time, he finally reached a spacious cave chamber. Upon landing, his gaze fell on a smooth round stone in front of him, upon which a bright red demon core, the size of a human head, was placed. Seeing the demon core, a greedy expression involuntarily appeared on Zhang Buku's face. Step by step, he walked forward with trembling hands. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, Guan observed the scene with his divine sense. That demon core was the demon core of the six-headed sea dragon. A demon core from the Mahayana realm, sufficient for Zhang Buku to defy fate and change his destiny. However, given Zhang Buku's current realm, whether he could withstand the power contained in the demon core was uncertain. If he couldn't hold on, Guan would intervene. Under his divine sense's watch, Zhang Buku grasped the demon core tightly and began to cultivate, absorbing the demonic power. His body trembled incessantly, the scabs on his skin transforming into blood energy and dissipating. His face contorted, and his skin turned red at a visible speed. What is this pain? Zhang Buku gritted his teeth. Thinking of the hardships he had endured over the years, he was determined to seize this opportunity. He could feel the high realm of this demon core, possibly the strongest demon he had encountered so far. If he could obtain its demonic power, he would undoubtedly be reborn. His expression became more twisted, and his eyes filled with blood. Wisps of blood energy overflowed from his body, coalescing behind him into the terrifying form of a demon. The shape of the six-headed sea dragon, exuding immense pressure. By evening, Guan returned to Mystic Valley. Along the way, many servant disciples greeted him. Senior brother Li Ye has returned. Lu Jiujia said to Guan. Guan nodded at him, and then walked towards the pavilion. From the moment Li Ye started his journey back to the Supreme Sect, Guan had sensed his presence. Along the way, Li Ye encountered many events, including slaying demons and resolving grudges. It seemed they would have a long conversation. Upon going upstairs and entering the room, Guan saw Leah writing at the table. Leah was already at the 9th layer of the core formation realm, but his lifespan had not increased, still at 1,550 years. Compared to Li Xiandao, he was not only less talented, but also less fortunate. Fortunately, Leah was unaware of how powerful his father was and still carried himself with confidence. Guan closed the door and smiled, asking, "Senior brother Li, long time no see, what are you writing?" Leah looked up at him and said, "I'm writing a body cultivation method that can extend your lifespan for you." Guan was intrigued and walked over to see the cultivation technique Leah was writing. "How have you been these years?" Leah asked while writing. "Quite well, peaceful and at ease," Guan replied, and then asked in return. Leah began to recount his experiences cultivating at Three Pure Ones Mountain. After arriving at Three Pure Ones Mountain, he discovered many members of the Li family living there. With the help of his family elders, he lived well and learned many spells, especially his Taoist heart, which had become more solid than before. Now when he performed swordsmanship, it carried Taoist intent, which, according to the accomplished cultivators at Three Pure Ones Mountain, was very rare. Even a genius like Sage Xian Miao hadn't mastered it. Guan could sense the Taoist intent within him, a power similar to sword intent but more advanced. With Taoist intent, Li Ya's perception of spiritual energy and nature became keener, and he might even be able to capture the rules of heaven and earth. It seemed he had indeed gained a lot. After talking about Three Pure Ones Mountain, he spoke of the events he encountered on his return journey. Leah also encountered many cultivators who took the opportunity of the demon calamity to commit evil acts, including cultivators from reputable sects, which made him very angry. "Now I not only slay demons but also people. Although many tell me that in extraordinary times, these people are needed to resist demons, I don't listen," Leah said coldly. He then looked at Guan and asked, "Junior brother, do you think I'm wrong?" Guan replied, "How could you be wrong? If these people were willing to resist demons, they wouldn't commit evil acts. By doing evil, they are a burden to the entire human race. I support you." Li Ya's face immediately broke into a smile, knowing his junior brother understood him. He continued to speak about his journey, and Guan listened attentively. Over the decades, Guan had made many friends, disciples, and even had romantic interests, but Leah still held a high position in his heart. They had both entered the supreme sect together, and before reaching the foundation establishment realm, Leah had taken care of him. This kindness he would naturally remember. Once Leah finished writing, he had also concluded his story. Leah put down his brush and looked at Guan, smiling. "Junior brother, I have come specifically to visit you. Tomorrow, I must descend the mountain again. The world is in chaos. Senior brother can go and do what you must. I don't have your strength and can only plant herbs in Medicine Valley. I will pray for you, wishing you safety," Guan said with a smile as well. Leah laughed. "With you praying for me, I will certainly be safe." He then asked, "By the way, do you still have contact with my emperor father?" This matter had been hidden for decades, and Guan felt it was time to speak out, so he told him about Tianya Valley. "I used to disdain him, but now his deeds have made me look at him with new eyes. Follow him well. If he dares to scheme against you, I will not spare him," Leah said with emotion. After the demon calamity, the three dynasties had ceased fighting, united against the demons. Li Xiandao even personally led troops to expedition against the Demon King, his fame growing larger, acknowledged more highly in the immortal cultivation world than even the emperors of Tianwei and Great Jiang. Oh yes, a wise man at Three Pure Ones Mountain divined that our Li family has a person destined for great things. That should be me. I might become an immortal in the future. See, isn't your senior brother impressive? Leah said proudly. Only in front of Guan could he reveal his true feelings. Guan curiously asked, "What are the characteristics of a person destined for great things? Is it top talent or unrivaled fortune?" Leah raised an eyebrow. "Whether in terms of talent or fortune, I am the strongest among the direct bloodline of the Li family. How do you see it? I should be the person destined for great things. Or do you think there is someone else? You don't possibly like my sister, do you?" "How could that be? I haven't seen your sister for years. By the way, is senior sister Li well?" Of course she's well. But wait, you just said you don't like my sister. Li Ya's eyes widened, and he began to bicker with Guan's senior sister Li was Li Xuanyu. Guan had once helped her manage her cave, and she had introduced him to other businesses. They had a good relationship, but in recent years, Li Xuanyu had been in seclusion in the inner sect, and the two had only met a few times, exchanging brief greetings before parting. Thus, it continued until the next morning when Li Ya finally departed. Guan stood at the windowsill, watching him leave. A person destined for great things. Senior brother, in any way I see it, your father seems more like the person destined for great things. In the cave, Zhang Buku sat on the ground shirtless, in meditation. The blood spots on his body had disappeared, and his skin had become even fairer. There were 3 black scales on each side of his neck, and eerie phantasms emerged around him, like the lingering souls of demons. He slowly opened his eyes and stood up, his joints cracking like thunder. Feeling his newfound strength, a look of excitement appeared on his face. Not only had his cultivation level advanced greatly, but his chi blood had also undergone a complete transformation. The feeling was truly wonderful. He began to stretch his bones. After a while, he seemed to notice something and walked to the rock wall, examining it closely. Heaven-cutting divine axe, Zhang Buku muttered. Having been on the run for years, he was unaware of major events in the immortal cultivation world, and had not heard of the heaven-cutting axe, but he could tell that a mighty technique was inscribed on the rock wall. After finishing reading, he discovered it only contained the general outline of the heaven-cutting divine axe, and not the specific mental method, which disappointed him. Just from its description, he could tell the heaven-cutting divine axe was formidable. If he could master it, he would be invincible. He suddenly sensed something and used his divine sense to inspect the rock wall. Bang! A vast amount of memory surged into his mind, causing him to become dazed. After some time, his eyes cleared, and a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. He had unexpectedly inherited the complete heaven-cutting divine axe. Recalling those grandiose moves, his heart burned with eagerness. He was impatient to start practicing the heaven-cutting divine axe, but he had no axe in hand. He glanced around and noticed a stone axe wedged in a crack in the rock, making him delighted. He pulled out the stone axe and swung it a few times, feeling it was too light. Nonetheless, he at least had an axe to practice the moves. He stepped back a few paces and then knelt, facing the rock wall. Senior, though I do not know your identity or whether you are still alive, what I have gained today is entirely due to your grace. From now on, you will be my master. I will never forget your kindness. Afterward, he began kowtowing heavily, his forehead bleeding profusely. Chapter 184 Mutual Appreciation. Suhan's desperate situation in Tianya Valley. Guan, who was picking herbs, smiled. He heard Zhang Buku's words and felt both comforted and accomplished. Senior brother Zhang, did you ever think I would become your son's support? Guan's thoughts drifted back several decades. At that time, Cheng Xiandan was still around, constantly engaged in alchemy and rarely coming downstairs. It was always Zhang Chuanqiu leading him, Li Ya and Meng Lang in their work. Years passed, and of the original 5 master and disciple members, only Guan and Li Ya remained. Time flows, and some people and events are taken away by the years, with their traces gradually erased. Autumn leaves danced in the air, as Sunda, Sun Air, and Sun San followed Guan, occasionally asking questions. Normally, neither Luo Han Lvcien nor Ji Ruolai paid much attention to them. Only Guan would chat with them and even bring them some gifts whenever he came, so they liked him very much. This time, Guan brought them some spirit fruits, which were very tasty. Although the 3 monkey demons were demon slaves, Guan did not look down on them. Just like when facing Tian Yaoer, he was used to treating all living beings with an equal attitude. Moreover, in his view, even ordinary monkey demons had their own personalities and interesting aspects. Perhaps one day, these 3 monkey demons could also have their own opportunities. Guan told them about the current calamity of demons, depicting the evil deeds of demons and humans, guiding them towards virtue. Hearing how dangerous the outside world was, the 3 monkey demons gave up the idea of leaving the valley, trusting that Guan would not frighten them with lies. What he said must be true. Lvcn suddenly came to Guan's side and asked, Valley Master, do you think humans and demons can live in harmony? Guan squatted down and replied, Why not? Before the great demon calamity, there was constant strife within the human race. There will always be survival struggles among individuals, but on a collective level, it is definitely decided by a minority in power. Lvcn was immediately interested and asked, Do you mean that the calamity between humans and demons is not destined by heaven? The three monkey demons also looked at him. Guan asked, If in a mountain forest there were no cultivators, no demons, only a group of ordinary living beings, would there be a calamity sweeping the entire forest? No, there would be conflicts, but they wouldn't shake the environment. Lvcn agreed and followed up. You mean that as long as the leaders of both races negotiate peace, there can be tranquility? Even if there is peace, the struggle for survival among living beings will not cease, but it would not be as terrifying. However, these ideas are meaningless. We cannot change the world's trend, so it's useless to think too much. Better to cherish the days we have now. Guan stood up and said this. Then he looked at Lvcn and asked, Do you have something to do? Lvcn pretended to cough and said, I've been having some difficulties with the mystic tortoise surging wave palm lately, and would like your guidance. My hand techniques were all taught by you. How can I guide you? Guan replied, a glint of coldness flashing in his eyes as he looked at Lvcn. Lvcn quickly said, It's precisely because I taught you that I want to hear your thoughts. One doesn't need to be superior to guide another. Different people have different insights, and you might offer unexpected ideas. This explanation was reasonable and considerate. Guan said, Then wait a moment, let me finish my work first. All right. Lvcn stepped aside immediately. After a while, Guan handed the medicinal herbs to the three monkey demons, and then took Lvcn to the attic. Without needing his instructions, Lvcn began setting up restrictions. Neither Luo Hun nor Jirualai thought much of it. Even though they all served Li Xiandao, they still kept secrets from each other, especially regarding cultivation matters, which should not be easily pried into. An hour later, Lvcn finally opened the door and left, and Guan was also about to leave. Staring at Guan's retreating figure flying by sword, Lvcn felt filled with admiration. This person was truly incredible. Despite having a cultivation level in the divinity transformation realm and extraordinary comprehension, he concealed his abilities to appear as an ordinary valley master. He had investigated Guan's background and found no deep-seated enemies. He even had the Ji family as his support. This indicated that Guan had unimaginable patience and goals. Lvcn's admiration for Guan grew, wishing to become someone like him. What's a moment of glory? Becoming immortal is the true goal. Lvcn also thought of Li Xiandao. He was the only one who knew Li Zuando's true cultivation level. No wonder Li Xiandao admired Guan so much. It was mutual appreciation among those with grand ambitions. It amused Lvcn that neither knew the other's true cultivation level. He started to look forward to the day when both would discover each other's true strength. Autumn passed and winter arrived. A major event shook the world of immortal cultivation. The Supreme Sect actually sent a demon army to support the Northern Territory, including a Mahayana realm demon king, causing an uproar. Countless people questioned the Supreme Sect's collusion with the demon clan. But with this demon army sweeping through a battlefield, the doubts disappeared, replaced by excitement. Successive reports of victory boosted the morale within the Supreme Sect. Yet, even so, the world crisis remained unresolved. The demon land's demons seemed endless, impossible to kill completely. Besides picking herbs, Guan spent most of his time descending the mountain to slay demons. His lifespan had already surpassed 6 million years. This winter, more and more disciples were dispatched down the mountain, and the number of disciples in the outer and inner sects kept decreasing. Guan could sense a terrifying demonic energy brewing in the north. Loose immortal realm. It must be that demon ancestor. Deep within the demon land, there might be a great cultivator of the 7-star spirit realm. Therefore, Guan did not act immediately. Once the demon ancestor ventured south, as long as he dared to step into human territory, Guan would strike at once. The seven-star spirit realm, claiming to be a holy land, would not directly attack the human race. One night, Guan habitually used his divine sense to scan the world, and was attracted to a certain forest. In that forest, Su-Han was hiding in the grass. He had an artifact that could conceal his aura. The 9 Nether 13 Evil were patrolling within 100 miles but could not find him. Su-Han's aura was unstable, indicating severe injuries. Had he fallen out with the ghost mother of Ephemera? Guan had no intention of intervening. He quietly observed. After 7 days, Su-Han finally left the forest. During his travels in the mortal world, Guan would occasionally keep an eye on him. Su-Han was secretly investigating Zhen Qin. What was he planning? Guan wouldn't allow Su-Han to harm Zhen Qin. If Su-Han dared to harm Zhen Qin, he would not stand by. Heavy snow fell, covering everything. In a mountain ravine, Yilan, Zhen Qin, and several disciples from the law enforcement hall were resting, each cultivating energy to restore spiritual power. Zhen Qin suddenly opened her eyes and scanned her surroundings. She hesitated for a moment, then stood up and walked to Yilan whispering, "Martial Ant, there is an issue with my cultivation. I need to undress, so I wish to be alone in the forest for a while." Yilan opened her eyes and looked at her, concerned. "Do you need my help?" "No, you know my cultivation technique is special." Zhen Qin smiled. Seeing her smile without any signs of trouble, Yilan nodded in agreement. Zhen Qin then left the camp. She continued walking through the forest, traveling several miles before stopping and looking ahead. Under a tree, a figure stood with its back to her. "Senior brother Su-Han, is that you?" Zhen Qin asked cautiously. Su-Han turned around, his face devoid of color and hair turned white. His bone sword was gone. He forced a smile and said, "It's me, come here." Zhen Qin hesitated but still approached Su-Han. When she was only 7 steps away from him, she sensed being trapped in some kind of restriction, causing her expression to change. "No need to panic, it's my artifact, which can block divine sense detection, keeping the ghost mother of Ephemera and the 9 Nether 13 Evil from finding me," Su-Han explained. Zhen Qin breathed a sigh of relief, maintaining her distance, and asked, "Senior brother, can you really not turn back?" Su-Han's face twisted into a grim smile. "Turn back? There's no going back. My hands are already stained with blood. Even if I abandon my cultivation, my enemies won't let me go." Zhen Qin saw his unstable condition and quickly asked, "Do you need healing medicine?" "No, I came to ask you for a favor." Su-Han shook his head. Zhen Qin couldn't help but ask, "What is it?" At that moment, Su-Han suddenly moved closer, pressing his right hand on her forehead. Her eyes widened in horror as she realized she couldn't move. Su-Han's face turned immensely cold in that instant. "Senior, brother." Zhen Qin managed to utter 2 words before a powerful spiritual force entered her body, rendering her speechless. In the distance, in a town, Guan was swinging his sword to slay demons, his brows furrowed, eyes complex. He turned and continued to kill demons, while other cultivators were fighting alongside him in the town. In the forest, Su-Han looked at Zhen Qin's panicked expression and whispered, "Junior sister, don't be afraid. I won't harm you. Senior brother is at the end of his rope, destined to die, and wants to pass all my cultivation to you before I die, to help you change your fate." Hearing this, Zhen Qin's pupils dilated. Memories of Outer Gate City flashed in her mind. Back then, the Outer Gate wanted to sacrifice disciples, and Su-Han risked his life to cover her escape from the city. Because of this gratitude, she had always cared about Su-Han's fate. Though Su-Han was infamous, perhaps wronging many people, he had always been good to her. Everyone could condemn him, but not her. The ghost mother of Ephemera taught me the defying fate divine skill, wanting me to enter the 9 Nether Road. Though I don't know her final intention, my fate would be grim. In a secret realm, I seized a Mahayana Dharma artifact and escaped them, but I'm heavily injured and won't live long. The hateful heaven divine sword ends with me. I sought revenge, but the true enemy is elusive. Yet I understand now that practicing the hateful heaven divine sword means endless enemies. Perhaps I've already taken my revenge. Junior sister, With our average talent, we are mere ants in the world of cultivation. Practicing the hateful heaven divine sword was my only chance to escape fate. Though I failed, my life was still worthwhile. Now inherit my cultivation. Chapter 185 Hateful Heaven Ancestor. Listening to Su Han's last words, Zhen Qin's eyes were red. She wanted to stop Su Han, but she couldn't speak. Su Han continued to instruct. I am only passing my cultivation to you. After I die, burn my body to ashes, and remember to take my storage bag. Anything related to the ghost mother of ephemera has already been discarded. Blood began to flow from the corners of his mouth, followed by his eyes and nose. The blood streaks on his pale face were so brilliant, especially in the icy snow, making it even more horrifying. Seeing Su Han's eyes turn into a pair of blood-red eyes, Zhen Qin's heart ached immensely, and tears kept flowing uncontrollably. Her robe began to flutter, and her cultivation level started skyrocketing. The power of the defying fate divine skill is very easy to cause deviation, but this cultivation technique itself is meant to be a wedding dress. After passing it on to others, the power becomes pure, even able to cleanse their tendons and marrows, transforming them. Junior sister, thank you for still thinking about me. Su Han's voice grew weaker. Zhen Qin felt her eyelids becoming unprecedentedly heavy. Her vision started blurring. She couldn't see her senior brother's face clearly anymore. Tell Master. I am sorry. I disappointed him. He helped me establish my foundation. But instead of repaying him, I only caused trouble. Although this life has been extraordinary, there are too many regrets. Zhen Qin's consciousness completely sank into chaos. The snow fell harder and harder, as if the heavens and earth were lamenting. No one knew how much time had passed. Zhen Qin's consciousness began to wake up, and she suddenly opened her eyes, awakening as if from a dream. She found herself lying in the snow, with another person lying beside her, her senior brother Su Han. She immediately scrambled up to check on Su Han, but as soon as she turned him over, she was so frightened that she hastily retreated. Su Han was already dead. His whole body was purple, and he was skin and bones, looking as if his flesh and blood had been sucked dry, extremely terrifying. Senior brother. No. It shouldn't be like this. Zhen Qin sat desolately on the ground, staring at Su Han. She could feel an unprecedentedly powerful spirit power within her, but she wasn't the least bit happy. She suddenly threw herself onto Su Han's corpse, starting to wail loudly. When she flipped Su Han over to face the sky, she noticed that his purple lips were slightly curled, as if he had died without pain. After a long time, after Zhen Qin vented her emotions, she slowly stood up. There were still tear stains on her face, but her expression had become colder than ever. She raised her right hand, and with a gesture, Su Han's gold ring flew into her hand. She could feel the immense power contained in this gold ring. Even though she had been transformed, it still shocked her. This must be a Mahayana Dharma artifact. Zhen Qin's eyes turned back to Su Han. She bit her lip, her eyes full of struggle. Her trembling right hand lifted, a spirit power fire igniting on it. Are you really willing to burn the senior brother who passed on his cultivation to you? A voice came from the side, startling Zhen Qin. She turned to see a small figure in white sitting on the trunk of a tree behind her, wearing a mask. She was stunned for a moment, then couldn't help but cry out in joy. Mountain God! She immediately knelt down, continuously kowtowing to the mountain god. Guan looked down at her with a deliberately frivolous tone, laughing. What are you doing? Zhen Qin looked up and hurriedly said, Please save my senior brother, mountain god. He killed so many people, why should I save him? Upon hearing this, Zhen Qin panicked and said, How many people did he kill? Looking at the world, which great cultivators' hands aren't stained with blood. The immortal cultivation world is inherently competitive. My senior brother didn't want to kill, but many people wouldn't tolerate him and forced him onto this path. He cultivated the hateful heaven divine sword. It's said that the greater the hatred of the sword practitioner, the stronger the sword intent, but my senior brother is not invincible in the world with the hateful heaven divine sword, which shows that his hatred is not that great. He also cultivated the defying fate divine skill of the ephemera sect. This skill can seize others' cultivation. If my senior brother had no bottom line, his cultivation level would be even higher. As she spoke, she became more and more agitated, releasing all her grievances. She felt aggrieved for Su-han. Su-han grew up without a mother, his father passed away early. He carried a blood feud and entered the supreme sect. The hateful heaven divine sword he cultivated was passed down by his father. What wrong did he do? Others hunted him down, shouldn't he fight back? Su-han never killed ordinary people. Even to become stronger, he only killed cultivators. The righteous path of the world. Zhenqin did not believe those great cultivators never killed innocent cultivators. Guan looked down at her and said, "The world has countless paths to cultivation. He must be responsible for his choices. Do you know what the fairest thing the heavens provide to all beings is? It is death. Since people have died because of him, he will naturally die as well." Zhenqin wanted to refute, but feared offending the mountain god. Guan continued, "You think he had no other path, and he thought so too. But if you think carefully, was that really the case? I don't think so. You both came from the same sect. Why are you living well?" After hearing this, Zhenqin gradually calmed down. If you truly believe your senior brother was without fault, then you will walk the same path. This is not what he wished to see. Gu An's tone became ethereal. The dead cannot be brought back to life. I am just a mountain god. I don't have such power. But I can take away your senior brother's body and leave you with a sliver of hope. How about it? Upon hearing this, Zhenqin did not respond immediately. She hesitated for a long time, then said through gritted teeth, "Then please, mountain god, take him away. One day, I will find you. I will seek the method of resurrection." Guan did not oppose her. If Zhenqin had one more goal, her future cultivation would be more diligent. He raised his right hand, taking Su-han's body into his hand, making it very small, leaving only a storage bag on the snow. Seeing the mountain god's miraculous divine skills, a grief-stricken Zhenqin was too sad to be amazed. She got up and asked, "Mountain god, why are you here?" Guan disappeared from the tree branch, leaving a sentence. Who says a mountain god can only stay in one place? Moreover, I am not just a mountain god. Upon hearing this, Zhenqin was awed, thinking that this mountain god might hold a transcendent position among the immortals and gods. She wiped away her tears and infused the gold ring with spirit power, causing the barrier to disappear immediately. She headed toward the place where Yilan and others were stationed. Her senses had already captured the aura of Yilan and others. They spread out, moving quickly, clearly searching for her. Inside the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, Guan placed Su-han's body on a stone table, looking at his apprentice's face, feeling a bit dazed. He thought of when they were in the mountains of Mystic Valley years ago. He guided Su-han in swordsmanship, and Su-han generously gave him the hateful heaven divine sword technique passed down from his family. He recalled how, when demon cultivators attacked Mystic Valley, Su-han stood in front of him without hesitation to protect him. He felt he had not owed Su-han anything, but in reality, Su-han had not wronged him either. Su-han had simply chosen a different path. Guan used his mana to start freezing Su-han's body, preventing it from decaying. The soul remained temporarily within the body. He had no way to resurrect the dead. This was the best he could do. During the freezing process, Guan detected something, raising an eyebrow. Su-han only transferred his power to Zhenqin, but the hateful heaven sword intent remained in his body. Guan sensed that this sword intent contained many causal connections, one of which was very complex, reaching the loose immortal realm. How could Su-han have come into contact with a loose immortal? Could it be the creator of the hateful heaven divine sword? Guan raised his other hand, taking Su-han's sword intent into his palm, forming a cluster of blood energy swirling in his hand. After Su-han was fully frozen, Guan walked aside and began to study this sword intent. As early as the Nirvana realm, Guan could detect causal connections and observe the past decade of beings of lower realms. Now his perception of causality was even stronger. In his eyes, causal auras constantly formed lines. The one belonging to the loose immortal extended from the mystic heaven cave mansion to the ends of the heavens and the earth. Guan turned, using his divine sense to trace the line. They spanned countless mountains. His divine sense traversed oceans, finally landing on a vast island. On this island lived millions of people. A third of them were cultivators, and their cultivation levels were very high, with 7 at the Mahayana realm, 1 at the Nirvana realm, and 1 at the loose immortal realm. The loose immortal was hidden underground on the island, within a complex barrier. The hateful heaven ancestor has developed hostility toward you, and his killing intent is increasing. Would you like to perform lifespan detection on him? How does he know about me? Guan was secretly alarmed. He hastily dissipated the hateful heaven sword intent in his hand, choosing lifespan detection. Hateful heaven ancestor, loose immortal realm second layer 14809/25000/28000, loose immortal realm second layer. After a moment of hesitation, Guan disappeared from his spot. In a mysterious underground chamber, the hateful heaven ancestor, clad in a gray robe, meditated on a prayer mat. He kept his eyes closed, brows furrowed. Mountain God, who was playing tricks. I didn't expect such a figure to be hidden on that continent. The hateful heaven ancestor muttered to himself, opening his blood-red eyes. He could spy on all sword practitioners through the hateful heaven divine sword intent. Suhan was too far from him, causing a delay in his spying process. The thought of the mountain god taking Suhan caused him unease. Moreover, it seemed the mountain god was deducing his causality. Has he transformed into a mountain god to evade the 7 stars spirit realm? Or is he from the 7 stars spirit realm himself? The hateful heaven ancestor pondered with a frown. Suhan's death made him furious. Fewer and fewer people were cultivating the hateful heaven divine sword. The immortal cultivation world was well aware of its price, severely impacting his plans. For this reason, he had turned his eye to the continent. Unfortunately, in less than 1,000 years, the reputation of the hateful heaven divine sword on that continent also turned foul. Having finally found someone to inherit the hateful heaven divine sword, he naturally cared. He felt resentment toward the ghost mother of ephemera and the 9 nether 13 evil, even considering exterminating those insects, but feared being discovered by the 7 stars spirit realm. Now no one on the continent cultivated the hateful heaven divine sword. The more the hateful heaven ancestor thought about it, the angrier he became, even developing murderous intent. No, I have to go there myself and personally pass on the teachings. The hateful heaven ancestor thought silently, closing his eyes to continue cultivating. This matter could not be rushed. He needed to wait until the so-called calamity of demons and spirits ended before quietly sneaking onto the continent. He had already discovered that the 7 star spirit realm had nurtured another human dynasty. At that moment, a hand suddenly pressed on the hateful heaven ancestor's shoulder, making him open his eyes abruptly. Chapter 186. Hateful Heaven Path. Demon Ancestor intends to head south. Hateful Heaven Ancestor had stayed in his cave for over 1,000 years without taking a single step outside. None of the cultivators on the island knew he was hiding there. Suddenly, someone tapped him on the shoulder. Even though he had loose immortal cultivation, he was still startled. He instinctively wanted to turn his head, but at that moment, an incredibly terrifying mana surged into his body, destroying his bones and tendons before restraining his primordial spirit. Behind him stood Guan, who had performed the 9 extremes yin-yang body. Guan pressed a hand on his shoulder, looking down at him. Although there was only one major realm difference between loose immortal and wandering immortal, the gap was vast. Moreover, Guan had 9th layer wandering immortal cultivation, while hateful heaven ancestor only had 2nd layer loose immortal cultivation. Puff! Hateful heaven ancestor spat a mouthful of blood, and his eyes immediately lost their spirit. Guan began to perform soul-capturing skill to search his memories. The memories of hateful heaven ancestor were too vast, so Guan only searched for memories related to the hateful heaven divine sword. A long time passed. Guan withdrew his divine sense, and then began to use the 3 pure ones true fire to finish off hateful heaven ancestor. You have successfully taken 1,280 years of life from Hateful Heaven Ancestor, second layer loose immortal realm. Watching Hateful Heaven Ancestor's body gradually turn to ashes, the heavy weight on Guan's mind slowly lifted. Being resented by a loose immortal put pressure on Guan. If he didn't eliminate the enemy immediately, he couldn't be at ease. He started examining the cave. It wasn't small. It was well furnished and even had a spirit pond with various kinds of aquatic plants. According to Hateful Heaven Ancestor's memories, he had no connection with this island. He had sneaked onto the island to hide, because he had enemies. His enemies were from a sea bass sect called Star Sea Congregations. This sect dominated the ocean and had countless disciples, though Guan wasn't sure of their exact strength. During the memory search, Guan was very careful, fearing he might see other wandering immortals or higher realm beings. Immortal Path Realm cultivators' perception of karmic forces increased with their cultivation level, and he worried that other great cultivators might notice his soul search. As for the strongest cultivator on this island, they were only in the Nirvana realm, not a major concern. Soon, Hateful Heaven Ancestor was burned to ashes. Guan began to inventory his belongings. His storage bag was of high quality, containing dozens of restrictions. The internal space was over 10 miles in diameter, storing countless spirit stones, elixirs, magic artifacts, secret books, and rare treasures. Guan felt that with this storage bag alone he could establish his own sect. He wasn't in a hurry to leave. He sat on a stone bench and took out a secret book to read. This secret book was called Hateful Heaven Path. The Hateful Heaven Divine Sword was merely a branch of the Hateful Heaven Path. Because Hateful Heaven Ancestor had been a sword cultivator, he had created the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword. Hateful Heaven Path was a legacy discovered by Hateful Heaven Ancestor in an ancient palace under the sea when he was 1,000 years old. It was said that this palace belonged to a powerful sect from ancient times. When the ocean submerged the mortal world, everything sank to the seabed. Hateful Heaven Ancestor had reached his current height relying on the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword. He propagated the sword technique, allowing sword cultivators to bolster his Hateful Heaven Path. The power of the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword came from borrowing his strength. In this process he would continually absorb the other party's chi fortune and lifespan. Thus, those who practiced the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword advanced quickly in cultivation, but also died quickly. The cultivator from the sword sect of the Great Yu Dynasty, who created the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword, had also been taught by him, not self-created. After perusing it, Guan thought Hateful Heaven Path was indeed powerful, but it was too sinister. Moreover, practicing this path would lead to backlash. For example, Hateful Heaven Ancestor couldn't be exposed to sunlight, and could only act at night. Even as a loose immortal, walking in the sunlight would cause heart demons to torment him. Guan threw the secret book into his storage bag, and continued to inventory the other secret books. At the end of the year, the demonic catastrophe was entering a more severe stage, and the Supreme Sect began mobilizing outer disciples to patrol the surrounding areas. That day, a violent demonic cat rushed into Mystic Valley, attempting to attack servant disciples. Fortunately, Chu Jingfeng arrived in time to slay it. When Guan returned from the Third Medicine Valley and saw the demonic cat's corpse, he found it still harbored a concealed and sinister power of cause and effect. This power of cause and effect was quite similar to the Hateful Heaven Path, possibly explaining the demon clan's transformation into demons. The disciples gathered around him, talking all at once, worried that Mystic Valley would face an attack during the demonic catastrophe. Guan stood up and comforted them. "Don't be afraid. With the protection of the Supreme Sect, nothing will happen." The disciples didn't believe him. If there was a demonic cat today, what would appear tomorrow? Chu Jingfeng had no cultivation, relying solely on his swordsmanship to slay demons. If Guan wasn't present, even a second-layer demon beast could devour them all. Hearing the disciples' concerns, Guan thought they were reasonable and decided to go to the Outer Gate City to issue a bounty, inviting Foundation Establishment Realm disciples to protect the Medicine Valley, which made the disciples very happy. Watching them discuss excitedly, Guan thought of the scene when Cheng Xiandan invited Chu Jingfeng. He turned to the north. He could feel the demon ancestor's aura had stabilized and was no longer rising, indicating the demon ancestor had fully revived and could head south at any time. Besides the demon ancestor, he also felt another aura. This aura didn't seem to emanate from an individual, but from an entire land, vast and eerie. It should be the evil demon from Black Disgust Demon King's memory. The legend of the evil demon had been around for a long time. Black Disgust Demon King had only heard of it but never seen it. According to legend, obtaining the true blood of the evil demon allowed demons to revert to their ancestral forms. The six-headed sea dragon had once obtained a drop of true blood from the evil demon. Guan suspected the evil demon was also raised by the Seven Stars spirit realm. He stood there for a while, then headed toward the pavilion. At the same time, in the distant north, demon energy filled the heavens and earth. Thunderclouds covered the sky, and lightning flickered, resembling the rolling of a sea dragon. The land was uneven, and trees were sparse. Bones, more numerous than trees, stretched as far as the eye could see, resembling a hellish landscape. The further north one went, the more bones there were, with even mountain-sized skeletons appearing, likely the remains of ancient species. As the bones grew denser, an enormous altar emerged. It stood on a desolate plain, over 20 miles in diameter, made of some kind of blue stone and covered with numerous ancient runes. Bone piles surrounded the altar, forming a white ring around it from above. 8 black lines, resembling chains, intertwined at the altar's center, where a figure sat. It was the demon ancestor. The demon ancestor wasn't as colossal as the six-headed sea dragon, appearing more like a human cultivator. He wore tattered robes with long white hair hanging loosely, and his black fingernails were sharp as blades. On closer inspection, he had 2 additional eyes on his forehead, all 4 eyes pitch black with dark red pupils. He was playing with a stone sword. The blade wasn't long and was as wide as his arm, appearing ordinary. "I'm hungry." The demon ancestor suddenly spoke, his voice booming like thunder, accompanied by the roar of tigers and dragons. A figure flew in from the horizon, a bird demon with black wings. He hovered at the altar's edge, looking nervous as he said, "Demon ancestor, all the demons within 1,000,000 miles have been eaten by you. His Majesty has also gone south to join the battle. There's no food left for you." His gaze towards the demon ancestor was filled with fear, and he tried hard to keep his voice from trembling. The demon ancestor glanced at him, his eyes cold, causing him to immediately bow his head. "Who says it's all been eaten?" The demon ancestor's voice echoed, its tone lazy. Upon hearing this, the bird demon's face changed color drastically, and he turned to flee, disappearing in an instant into the horizon. The demon ancestor's eyes narrowed, and the space in front of him rippled. That bird demon suddenly appeared before him, and he grabbed its head, smashing it violently onto the altar. Blood splattered, and the demon ancestor showed a ferocious, cruel smile. He opened his mouth and bit down directly. "Ah!" The bird demon let out a miserable scream. The demon ancestor didn't choose to kill it, but to eat it alive. A long time passed. The demon ancestor sat in a blood-soaked area, surrounded by black feathers. He licked the blood on his fingers, his gaze looking towards the horizon. It's time to prepare to head south. The New Year's Spring Festival arrived, but it was very quiet, not as lively as in past years, and the banquets quickly dispersed. In the dead of night, on Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, in Nianchu Cave, Guan was spending the festival with Tian Yaoer. While roasting lamb, Tian Yaoer repeatedly showed off the limitless freedom step, moving back and forth and occasionally using her innate divine skill to transform into various female demons. Guan couldn't help but laugh and ask, "Why do you keep transforming into female demons?" "I want to see if the master likes it." Tian Yaoer stopped and giggled. Guan commented, "None of them are as pretty as you. Stop transforming from now on." He was telling the truth. Tian Yaoer was already stunningly beautiful, far superior to the female demons who retained demonic features. Hearing this, Tian Yaoer was overjoyed and immediately pounced on Guan, clinging to his arm. After being affectionate for a while, she asked, "Master, can you catch a few more demons to keep me company?" Guan asked, "What kind of demons do you want?" "Just female demons, preferably young ones. Easy to control, Tian Yaoer smiled. Guan thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. Now that the various zones in Yanchu Cave were running smoothly, he could capture a few demons for Tian Yaoer to assist her, ensuring she could focus on her cultivation. Let's see if I come across any later. I don't like randomly catching demons, Guan said, focusing on the roasted lamb leg in his hand. Tian Yaoer nodded and smiled. Master is kind-hearted and only saves demons. Being chosen by you is their blessing. What do you mean, kind-hearted? Don't use words incorrectly. Anyway, Master is very nice. You're the best person I've ever met. How many people have you met in your life? Oh, it doesn't matter. You're the best. Meeting you is the greatest blessing of my life. As she spoke, Tian Yaoer's gaze fell on the mask on Gu An's face. She really wanted to remove Gu An's mask but was afraid of angering him. Guan handed her the lamb leg and then stood up, saying, "All right, you eat slowly. I have to go." Tian Yaoer froze and quickly asked, "So soon? Where are you going?" Guan vanished into thin air, leaving a single sentence. "To check on another lonely demon." Tian Yaoer's smile instantly froze. Chapter 187 Immortal Path's Powerful Enemy. The Supreme Sex Crisis inside the cave. Zhang Buku wielded the stone axe, continuously swinging it. His movements were fierce, his footwork mysterious, and his afterimages appeared in succession, making it seem as if several clones of him were left in the cave. Since he arrived at this cave and learned the heaven-cutting divine axe, he hadn't gone out again. Relying on cultivating the heaven-cutting divine axe, his chi blood rapidly strengthened, and he had completely fused with the power of that mysterious demon core. He didn't notice a sparrow watching him from a distant rock. Watching Zhang Buku's posture, Guan felt gratified. This kid still had some talent. At least he hadn't wasted the effort of nurturing him. Guan also noticed the change in Zhang Buku's bloodline. This change wasn't evolving towards the six-headed sea dragon, but was another type of demonic aura he hadn't seen before. He suddenly thought of the evil demon. The six-headed sea dragon ingested the true blood of an evil demon, thereby regressing to its ancestors. Could it be that Zhang Buku would also regress to his ancestors? In fact, Zhang Buku wasn't alone and destitute, he still had a mother. But Zhang Chuanqiu had never revealed his mother's identity, making it impossible for him to find her. Could Zhang Buku's mother have an extraordinary background? Guan thought silently but didn't fear too much. After practicing the heaven-cutting divine axe for a while, Zhang Buku finally saw Guan. "It's you, little sparrow, you finally appeared. What is your relationship with the predecessor of this cave?" Zhang Buku asked excitedly. He didn't rush towards Guan immediately, fearing he'd scare Guan away. Guan shook his head and didn't make a sound. The Heaven and Earth 9 transformations, brought by the All Things Form and Energy art, were indeed convenient. Not only could it transform one's form, but it could also change one's aura. Zhang Buku hadn't noticed anything unusual about him at all. Seeing the sparrow transformed by Guan not speaking, Zhang Buku wasn't disappointed either, and began to excitedly talk about his own unique opportunity. If it weren't for this sparrow before him, he wouldn't have had this encounter. He might even have been eaten by demons. Even if the sparrow had no spiritual wisdom and was unrelated to this cave, he still felt grateful. Guan listened patiently. The current Zhang Buku was filled with unprecedented fighting spirit, and his entire essence, energy, and spirit had transformed. In Zhang Buku, he saw the shadow of an Hao. That was the aura belonging to a genius. Guan suddenly remembered that when they were young, An Hao and Zhang Buku had fought, and that was An Hao's first failure since he began immortal cultivation. He wondered if An Hao still harbored resentment. After Zhang Buku finished speaking, Guan opened his mouth and spat out the demon core of the Black Disgust Demon King. Seeing the sparrow spit out a demon core nearly 10 times its size, Zhang Buku's mouth opened wide. Subsequently, Guan flapped his wings and quickly disappeared into the cave passage. Zhang Buku stared at the demon core on the ground in silence for a long time. The new year had just passed, but the land of the 3 dynasties had not yet welcomed the revival, and was still shrouded in demonic mist and demonic qi. In the northern region of the Great Jiang Dynasty, in a valley, cultivators continuously flew in and out, very busy. Xian Tianyi sat under a tree, his upper body bare and wrapped in white cloth, holding a white bone and examining it carefully. Ji Hantian approached Xian Tianyi and spoke. The Daotian sect has deduced that the demon ancestor is about to descend south. Are you confident? Xian Tianyi replied casually. Of course, I have confidence. Even if I can't win, there's still Sword Venerable Fu Dao. What if the demon ancestor is stronger than Sword Venerable Fu Dao? Ji Hantian asked worriedly. Then we all die together. Don't really think it's a battle for the survival of the human race. Rest assured, if we die, there are larger human forces overseas. Xian Tianyi said casually, raising the bone in his hand and squinting his eyes as if examining its surface patterns. Hearing this, Ji Hantian couldn't help but roll his eyes. He couldn't help but ask, "You've been looking at that bone for days. What's so special about it?" Xian Tianyi answered nonchalantly, "My spells are so powerful that this demon king was reduced to ashes, leaving only this bone. It surely has something extraordinary about it. Perhaps there's a secret hidden behind the demon calamity." Ji Hantian was about to say more when a strong wind blew from the north into the valley, giving everyone a sudden shiver. Xian Tianyi couldn't help but put down the bone and turn his head, frowning. Such powerful demonic energy, how could it be? Ji Hantian's face changed drastically, mumbling to himself. Even for a cultivator of the unification realm like him, this was terrifying, not to mention the other cultivators in the valley. Such terrifying demonic energy, it feels like the sky is about to collapse. Is it the Demon Emperor? No, I've felt the aura of the Demon Emperor before. This demonic energy far surpasses that of the Demon Emperor. It must be the legendary demon ancestor. This demonic energy is too terrifying. The legends are true, the ancestor of 10,000 demons. What should we do? We aren't going to fight, are we? Facing such demonic energy, I can't see any hope of winning. The cultivators in the valley had fought demons for years, and had even experienced battles with Mahayana realm participants. Their Taoist hearts had long transformed, but even so, facing the distant demonic energy, they were terrified, without any will to fight. Xian Tianyi vanished into thin air. Ji Hantian immediately turned, and urged the disciples of the Supreme Sect to prepare for battle. Far away, Guan stood up at the third medicine valley of the Supreme Sect. He didn't look north but looked up at the sky. The sky was blue, but the white clouds were dissipating. "Master, what's wrong?" An Xian who was counting seeds nearby turned and asked. Xiaochuan and several disciples all looked at Guan. Guan said, "The clouds in the sky are dispersing." Hearing this, the others all looked up. Soon, they also began to feel suspicious. After the clouds dispersed, they didn't disappear but kept surging, like pieces of torn cloth being pieced together. Moreover, everyone noticed that the whole world became strangely quiet, with even the sounds of insects missing. 7 stars spirit realm, is it? Guan looked at the sky and thought silently. He could feel the space above the Supreme Sect fluctuating. A mysterious power had already enveloped the entire Supreme Sect. This power had surpassed the Nirvana realm, so the Supreme Sect cultivators hadn't noticed. The demon ancestor descended south, but another loose immortal was about to arrive at the Supreme Sect. It seemed the 7 stars spirit realm had set its sights on Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Were they afraid that Sword Venerable Fu Dao would stop the demon ancestor from descending south? Under Gu An's gaze, the scattered clouds in the sky gradually formed an array diagram, grand and spectacular. This made more and more disciples of the Supreme Sect look up. The disciples in the valley could even hear the noise from the outer city in the distance. Lu Lingjun appeared next to Guan, saying in a deep voice, "Trouble is coming, you better not run out." With that, she leaped into the sky. Not only her, but the Unification Realm cultivators of the Supreme Sect also flew out. Lu Lingjun took out a treasure sword and slashed it, the spiritual power sweeping across like a rainbow, majestic in momentum. With a loud boom, the array diagram in the sky burst out with brilliant golden light, and a boundless pressure descended, startling Lu Lingjun to stop in a hurry. The other Unification Realm cultivators were the same. Unlike Lu Lingjun, they were suppressed by the pressure from the sky, unable to move, all looking at the array diagram in the sky with fear. Every piece of scattered cloud in the array diagram emitted golden light, forming golden lines and then condensing into golden runes. The golden light shined down, and whoever was illuminated by it couldn't move. And Zin's eyes widened, showing a look of despair. The outer city, atop the heavenly repair platform. The cultivators in sword enlightenment there all stood, their bodies trembling. They looked at the sky incredulously. What is that? Zhua Yijian, standing next to the heaven-cutting axe, raised his neck and asked with difficulty. No one answered him. The other cultivators seemed to be watching the descent of gods, but not bringing fortune, rather despair. Under the gazes of countless people, a gigantic, illusory face manifested within the vast golden array diagram. Only the outlines of the facial features were visible, its true visage unclear, and its gender indistinguishable. It seemed like the will of the heavenly Tao overlooking the myriad beings, imposing great oppression on the supreme sect disciples. More and more people's legs shook, kneeling on the ground. Subconsciously, it was as if an invisible hand pressed their heads, not allowing them to look directly at the mysterious giant face in the golden array diagram. In a mansion in the inner sect city, Ji Xiaoyu looked at the sky, her brows tightly furrowed. She didn't recognize this array diagram, but intuition told her the visitor was certainly related to the Seven Stars spirit realm. May I ask which senior has arrived? Why oppress the supreme sect in this world of chaos wrought by demons? A female voice rang out, and a woman in black appeared next to Lu Lingjun. She was the supreme elder, Fairy Suxin. Returning from overseas, she suffered severe injuries last year in the demon battlefield, and now back in the supreme sect to heal. Her cultivation level wasn't much higher than Lu Lingjun. Facing the golden array diagram together, they could only slightly reduce the pressure. The mysterious giant face in the golden array diagram didn't respond. It seemed to be searching for something. Suddenly, the golden array diagram emitted golden light beams, shooting towards the outer gate city of the supreme sect, sweeping across the sky. Under the gazes of countless disciples, the golden light beams converged into a golden arm, like the hand of the heavens, exuding supreme pressure. That direction was exactly the heavenly repair platform. Standing beside the heaven-cutting axe, Zhua Yijian's face changed drastically. He was also suppressed, half-kneeling, unable to stand up. From his perspective, the golden hand in the sky shrouded the heavens and covered the sun, making everyone in the city feel despair. With a loud rumble, the heaven-cutting axe trembled. An immense sword-intent soared into the sky, causing the golden hand to stop. Existing within the realm of a mortal path, why hide among mortal sects? A cold voice echoed, reverberating through the supreme sect, making every cultivator hear it clearly. Realm of immortal path. They immediately thought of an entity. Sword Venerable Fudao. Only Sword Venerable Fudao could belong to the realm of immortal path. Guan and an Xian, like the others, were pressed to the ground. Unlike others who were kneeling, he was squatting with his hands supporting him, arms trembling, head down, making it hard to see his expression. Since you want answer, watch this sect turn to dust. The cold voice spoke again, like a heavenly god issuing judgment upon all beings. The terrifying pressure over the supreme sect suddenly intensified, and the earth began to tremble. With his head down, Guan glanced at Xiaochuan, an Xian, and others' desperate expressions from the corner of his eye. Everyone's hearts were shrouded in fear, too preoccupied to look at those beside them. Guan sighed softly. Why do people always seek death? Chapter 188. What realm is Sword Venerable Fudao in? Guan infused his mana into the ground. The five-element spiritual energy followed his mana, and converged towards the heavenly repair platform. On the heavenly repair platform, the cultivators who couldn't raise their heads saw wisps of spiritual energy emerging on the platform, all converging in one direction. They glanced out of the corner of their eyes. The heaven-cutting axe. Zhua Yijian, kneeling beside the heaven-cutting axe, felt it even more deeply, his pupils dilated, filled with excitement. The elder was about to make his move. Nature's spiritual energy gathered beside the heaven-cutting axe, forming a whirlpool, quickly condensing into a dark purple phantom. It was precisely Gu An's 9 Extremes Yin-Yang body. Under the golden light, the posture of the 9 Extremes Yin-Yang body was incomparably domineering, causing the nearby cultivators to be filled with excitement. Sword Venerable Fudao has appeared. The giant face in the sky locked its gaze on the 9 Extremes Yin-Yang body. The golden light array diagram once again burst forth with golden rays, and this time, it was as if a torrential downpour decorated the entire sky. Especially for the cultivators on the heavenly repair platform, the visual impact was immense. Under Zhou Yijian's watchful eye, the 9 Extremes Yin-Yang body grasped the handle of the heaven-cutting axe in reverse. The heaven-cutting axe, which the cultivators of the Supreme Sect thought impossible to lift, was effortlessly raised as if it had no weight. The 9 Extremes Yin-Yang body lifted the axe with one hand, facing the golden rays that filled the sky. Its figure looked so insignificant. But at that moment, all the cultivators kneeling on the platform directed their gaze towards it. With its appearance, everyone in the outer sect city felt the pressure on them lessen. At least they could turn their heads. No one knew why, but looking at Sword Venerable Fudao holding the heaven-cutting axe, all the fear in everyone's hearts dissipated. Time seemed to slow down at that moment. Zhou Yijian raised his head, a look of fanaticism on his face. He was still kneeling, as if worshipping the 9 Extremes Yin-Yang body. The 9 Extremes Yin-Yang body lifted the axe with its right hand, moving the heaven-cutting axe to its left waist, and then suddenly lifted it upwards, slicing heaven with axe. With one slash, the entire world instantly lost its color. The golden rays in the sky were successively annihilated. The golden light array diagram spanning the sky was directly cut in half, including the giant face, and even a clear space rift appeared in the sky, shocking the onlookers. Who are you, to have trained the heaven-cutting divine axe to such a degree? A mysterious, cold, and indifferent voice sounded, this time filled with fear, no longer calm and composed as before. Boom! The golden light array diagram in the sky, sliced in half, suddenly exploded, a terrifying strong wind crushing everything between heaven and earth. Zhou Yijian instinctively lowered his head and closed his eyes. All the disciples in the Third Medicine Valley were blown away by the suddenly erupting strong wind, including Gu An's true body. The formations in each area of the valley were activated, forming protective barriers, like light shields suddenly lighting up. The mountains and forests outside the Medicine Valley shook violently, as if the trees were about to be uprooted at any moment. The same happened in Mystic Valley. All the cultivators in the outer gate cities in the 8 directions, the inner gate cities in the 4 directions, and the main city of the sect saw the golden light array diagram in the sky suddenly cut in half, although they couldn't see clearly what had happened. The space rift spanning the sky proved that someone had just made a move. Along with the mysterious enemy's words, everyone thought of Sword Venerable Fudao. Ji Xiaoyu stood on the eaves, resisting the strong wind with her own spiritual power. The debris beneath her feet was blown away. She squinted as she looked on, her eyes filled with shock. The sky was covered with streaks of golden light, as if the golden sky had been torn apart. The heaven-cutting divine axe. Ji Xiaoyu muttered to herself, her beautiful eyes fixated on the sky. She naturally knew that the heaven-cutting divine axe was one of the 9 inheritances of the 7-star spirit realm. The appearance of the heaven-cutting axe had made her think that Sword Venerable Fudao just got the relic of ancestor Xian Tian. But now it was proven that Sword Venerable Fudao had also mastered the heaven-cutting divine axe. From the words of that mysterious great cultivator, it seemed that Sword Venerable Fudao not only mastered it but trained the heaven-cutting divine axe to a very high realm. Sword Venerable Fudao was hostile to the 7-star spirit realm. Could it be that Sword Venerable Fudao was also a person of the 7-star spirit realm? Ji Xiaoyu resisted the wind and thought wildly. The violent windstorm lasted for a long time. Zhou Yijian struggled to open his eyes, seeing Sword Venerable Fudao turn around, putting the heaven-cutting axe back in place. Then Sword Venerable Fudao came to him, gently patting his shoulder. He froze, immense joy filled his heart. His mind went blank. Before he could think more, Sword Venerable Fudao disappeared into thin air. When the storm completely subsided, more and more people stood up. Looking up, there were only golden remnants of clouds and a space rift of unknown length left in the sky. We are saved. The one just now definitely reached the realm of immortal path, yet was killed by sword Venerable Fudao with one slash. He should be dead. Otherwise, why didn't he make a sound? Who on earth is that person to dare suppress our supreme sect alone? Fortunately, we have Senior Sword Venerable here. Didn't you hear? Sword Venerable Fudao is also in the realm of immortal path. They say even the Mahayana realm can't reach the edge of the immortal path. A thunderous cheer erupted from the outer sect city. Lu Lingjun and Fairy Suxin floated in the air. The impact on the two women was even greater. When Sword Venerable Fudao swung the axe, they felt a chill that made them fearful even in retrospect. The mysterious great cultivator they couldn't resist was killed just like that? Fairy Suxin looked at Lu Lingjun and sighed. It seems the mystic heart realm is still within the mortal range. Lu Lingjun remained silent. Her feelings were complicated. She had reached a realm she had dreamt of before her ascension, but since reaching the mystic heart realm, she often felt powerless. Even though her cultivation level had grown stronger, she felt weaker. In a forest, a figure appeared out of thin air. It was a man in golden robes, stumbling forward as he landed, spitting a mouthful of blood. His blood splashed on the flowers and grass, immediately turning them to ashes. He stabilized his figure and started to cultivate energy to suppress the domineering mana within his body. Damn! How can his mana be so powerful, and with more than one attribute? The man in golden robes thought through gritted teeth, his handsome face full of pain. It couldn't be done. He couldn't suppress it at all. He immediately turned around, preparing to flee back to the Seven Stars spirit realm. But as soon as he turned, a hand pressed down on his shoulder, his eyes widened. Before he could turn around, a divine sense far surpassing a loose immortal's rushed into his mind, causing his eyes to lose their luster. The strongest aspect of a wandering immortal was their soul power, stronger than their own mana. Standing behind the man in golden robes was Gu An's true body. He had delayed a bit to handle the disciples in the valley, which was why the man in golden robes had escaped here. This time, Guan did not perform soul search, instead using divine sense to destroy the primordial spirit of the man in golden robes, directly suppressing him. You have successfully seized startling immortal Lin, 6th layer of loose immortal realm. 1,709 years of lifespan. Guan took startling immortal Lin's storage bag, then used Taiching True Fire to burn his body. The loose immortal died in the forest, without a sound. After startling immortal Lin turned to ashes, Guan disappeared into thin air. About half an hour later, figures appeared in the forest, looking at the scorched grass burned by startling immortal Lin's immortal blood, all frowning. There were 8 people, male and female, all with extraordinary auras. Is startling immortal Lin dead? Not sure. We'll know whether he is alive by checking his soul jade. I didn't expect Sword Venerable Fudao to be so powerful. His heaven-cutting divine axe feels close to Elder Lin's level. In terms of achievement, he can't compare to Elder Lin. It's just that his mana is strong enough. If startling immortal Lin is really dead, how do we explain to Elder Lin? What about the Supreme Sect? How should we deal with it next? Everyone was silent. Although they hadn't gone to the Taitsung dynasty, they sensed the terrifying aura of the heaven-cutting divine axe. Now they dared not go to the Supreme Sect. An old man in black robes said solemnly, "Let's go back first, lest Sword Venerable Fudao comes to kill us." As soon as he said this, everyone's expressions changed. They immediately disappeared from the spot. Guan, who had returned to the Third Medicine Valley, was indeed watching them. 8 loose immortals. The foundation of the 7 Stars spirit realm shocked Guan. No wonder hateful heaven ancestor didn't dare come to the continent. Fortunately, the other side also feared him. Guan's gaze turned northward. The demon ancestor was approaching. He had to deal with startling immortal Lin, and now the demon ancestor. Today was truly troublesome. Lu Lingjun had returned to the valley. She saw Guan and immediately dragged him to the loft, causing him to be temporarily unable to leave. As Lu Lingjun closed the door, Guan asked, "What's wrong with you?" Lu Lingjun replied, After the demon calamity ends, I'm planning to leave the Supreme Sect and explore the secret realm Shenzhen discovered. Guan couldn't help but ask, how do you know we can definitely withstand the demon calamity? Lu Lingjun gave him a blank look and said crossly, you didn't see how Sword Venerable Fudao acted today, just one slash killed the invader, with Sword Venerable Fudao here. How can the Taitsong dynasty not withstand the demon calamity? Guan was secretly pleased but still showed a worried expression on his face, saying, no matter how strong Sword Venerable Fudao is, he can't possibly wipe out all the demons, right? He only needs to deal with the demon ancestor and the demon emperor. The demon calamity will surely end. Today I have truly broadened my horizons. This is also the first time I have seen Sword Venerable Fudao in action myself. Lu Lingjun began recounting the scene of Sword Venerable Fudao swinging the axe earlier, with reverence in her words. At the same time, in the Great Jiang Dynasty, Northern Territory, Xian Tianyi stood at the edge of a cliff, figures constantly appearing on either side of him. All great cultivators from various sects, following their gaze forward, there was a desolate plain with demon energy permeating. The end of heaven and earth was murky, as if black mist was about to press down. Liang Songhai of the Tsangtian sect looked at Xian Tianyi and said, we sensed a terrifying pressure from the direction of the Supreme Sect earlier. Could something have happened? Others also looked at Xian Tianyi. Xian Tianyi said indifferently, it came quickly and went quickly, meaning it's already resolved. If it was an enemy, with Sword Venerable Fudao there, anyone daring to invade the Supreme Sect would die. Despite his calm demeanor, a storm was raging in his heart. Startling Immortal Lin's pressure made even this Mahayana realm cultivator feel fear. It must have been an immortal descending on the Supreme Sect. Xian Tianyi, with the highest cultivation level among the group, had experienced more. The mysterious immortal had just appeared not long ago, then was killed by an even more terrifying aura, indicating a great battle had erupted in the Supreme Sect and ended swiftly. This made him wonder, what realm was Sword Venerable Fudao in? Chapter 189 Sword Venerable Fudao battles the demon ancestor. When Xian Tianyi felt shocked in his heart, other great cultivators turned their eyes to the distance. The overwhelming demonic aura of the demon ancestor was constantly approaching. They could no longer worry about the situation within the three dynasties. The upcoming battle for them was one of life and death. A figure appeared out of thin air next to Liang Songhai. This person wore a blue Dao robe, had a refined and elegant demeanor, black and white hair, and exuded a sense of detachment as if he had seen through the worldly affairs. As soon as he appeared, the others bowed to him. Xian Tianyi withdrew his mind and glanced at the newcomer. This person was the Taoist lord of the Tsangtian sect, one of the three great cultivators in the land of the three dynasties. Now Sword Venerable Fudao was considered an existence beyond the Mahayana realm, leaving only Xian Tianyi and the Taoist lord in the Mahayana realm. The two rarely met as they had to take charge of different parts of the battlefield. Liang Songhai looked at the Taoist lord and respectfully asked, Martial Master, can you see what realm the demon ancestor is in? The others looked at the Taoist lord, their expressions tense. The Taoist lord replied, the realm of Immortal Path. As to the specific realm, I do not know, but it can be confirmed that even if we join forces, we are not his match. His voice was light, but the words he said struck everyone like a heavy hammer, making their faces pale. Fight to the death. These two words were often on their lips, but when facing an invincible enemy, it was inevitable that they felt a bit flustered in their hearts. Even if we are not his match, we must hold him off and wait for Sword Venerable Fudao to come and support us. Xian Tianyi said with a casual tone, without any hint of fear, even with a touch of smile. These words instilled hope into the other great cultivators, whose eyes suddenly shone with vitality. One couldn't help but ask, will Sword Venerable Fudao really come? Over the years, he has hardly ever taken action outside of the Supreme Sect. He might not belong to the Supreme Sect but instead come from overseas, secretly cultivating there. He may not want to interfere with the mainland's major events unless some fellows provoke him directly. These words caused the crowd to waver once again. Xian Tianyi raised his hand, and a blue lotus bloomed in his palm. Looking ahead, he said, "Everyone, don't overthink it. Believe in Sword Venerable Fudao. Believe in the Supreme Sect." If Sword Venerable Fudao had nothing to do with the Supreme Sect, then the Heavenly Repair platform would not have the word righteous on it. We seek immortality, but even immortals from overseas cannot achieve true immortality. So-called immortals just have a longer lifespan than mortals. Since all lives will end, why not bloom brilliantly in this calamity rather than dying in seclusion, thus not wasting a lifetime of cultivation? His words resonated with the other great cultivators, who began adjusting their mindsets, preparing for the upcoming battle. At the same time, 10,000 miles away, on the barren plains, the demon ancestor strolled forward, followed by a vast demonic fog, covering the sky and swallowing all the white bones along the way. His white hair fluttered wildly, his tattered robe swaying in the wind, and his 4 eyes stared ahead, his brows slightly furrowed. A bird flew out of the demonic fog behind him, swiftly landing on his shoulder. It was a white dove, tilting its head and asking, "Demon ancestor, you seem to have some hesitation in your heart." Its voice was like a little girl's, ethereal and melodic. The demon ancestor looked into the distance and said, "Earlier, there was a loose immortal aura among the human race, and another aura even stronger. However, both disappeared in an instant, making it impossible for me to determine their cultivation levels." Upon hearing this, the white dove immediately asked, "Could there still be a being stronger than you in the world?" "How could there not be? If there weren't, why would I need to resurrect? If that's the case, why march southward? The world is so vast, why not just leave some survivors? If you are hungry, we can go to the sea to find food. The sea has plenty of demon beasts." The white dove chattered nonstop, describing the vastness and beauty of the ocean. The demon ancestor listened intently, but did not stop moving. The desolate land was littered with white bones. With each step he took, the demonic fog behind him surged forward, plunging half the world into darkness. He was like the catastrophe of heaven and earth, driving away the light with darkness. After a long while, the demon ancestor finally said in a melancholic tone, "Little demon, sometimes being strong in this land is a mistake. I cannot leave this continent." Upon hearing this, the white dove was dumbfounded, staring blankly at him. "However, even if I am not the strongest, unable to leave the continent, no one can completely eradicate me. Since we all have to die eventually, let me see the strength of the human race in the south." His face once again turned vicious, his 4 eyes filled with greed and cruelty. He shook his shoulders, startling the white dove into flight. "Little demon, fly northward. Since you yearn for the ocean, then go. Although the ocean is more dangerous, it also holds more hope." As the demon ancestor's voice fell, he took a step and traversed several miles in an instant. The demonic fog behind him quickly engulfed the white dove. Boom! A terrifying aura burst from his body. The ground beneath his feet constantly cracked, surrounded by demonic energy, connecting with the demonic fog behind him. Countless shadowy figures of demon beasts appeared, as if he were leading the entire demon clan forward, exuding grandeur. In the distance, Xiantiani, the Taoist lord, and others were all startled. The people of the 3 dynasties' land were equally terrified. The Supreme Sect, which had just survived the calamity brought by startling immortal Lin, fell into silence once again. But this time, the disciples of the Supreme Sect were no longer afraid. Instead, they started to look forward to what would happen next. In the 3rd Medicine Valley, inside a pavilion, Lu Lingjun turned her head to look out the window, her brows furrowed, and said, "This should be the aura of the demon ancestor, truly terrifying. I wonder if Sword Venerable Fudao will make a move this time. The other cultivators might not be able to withstand such demonic energy." Guan feigned confusion and asked, "Is the demon ancestor very powerful? Can even Xiantiani not stop him?" Lu Lingjun rolled her eyes at him and said irritatedly, "Do you think your sworn elder brother is invincible in the world? Compared to Sword Venerable Fudao, he is far inferior." Guan wanted to say on behalf of Sword Venerable Fudao that his second brother was invincible in the world, but he held back. He sighed and said, "When will this world's disaster end? It is so difficult to live a peaceful life. Lu Lingjun found it funny and laughed. Your peaceful life hasn't been enough? You don't even need to fight. But seeing you all get hurt, how can I feel at ease? Guan said earnestly. Seeing his expression, Lu Lingjun suddenly felt guilty. With his personality, he would indeed worry about those around him. How could she mock him? Although Guan did not fight, everyone around him received his medicinal herbs and elixirs. His contribution was no less than the other fighting disciples. Lu Lingjun took a deep breath and said, "Don't worry. It's almost over. It just depends on the battle between Sword Venerable Fu Dao and the demon ancestor, to see who is stronger." Guan nodded and said, "Let's go down and comfort the other disciples. At this crucial moment, we must stay united." His divine sense could easily cover the land of the three dynasties, and he could feel the demon ancestor getting closer to the northern territory. The two of them got up and walked downstairs. The disciples in the valley had already gathered together. Seeing Guan and Lu Lingjun coming over, they quickly surrounded them, asking Lu Lingjun about the distance of the demonic aura from the supreme sect. With their low cultivation levels, they did not know where the demonic aura was, worrying that it was once again aimed at the supreme sect. Do not worry, this demonic aura should be from the demon ancestor. It is still far away, and the great cultivators of the immortal cultivation world are already preparing to confront him. Lu Lingjun reassured them. The mention of the demon ancestor startled the disciples, and they began discussing it incessantly. Xiaochuan turned to look at his senior brother, who was standing outside the crowd, gazing at the sky, lost in thought. He immediately walked over and asked, "Senior brother, are you worried?" Guan nodded and said, "Of course I'm worried. I can't help but wonder if I should have worked harder on my cultivation. If I were stronger, I would feel more at ease now." Xiaochuan responded, "Senior brother, you should indeed work harder on your cultivation. Your talent and status are higher than mine. Don't give up. I'm also talking about you, fool. Can you focus on the cultivation technique I taught you? Senior brother, do you think that even if I cultivate this technique, I can reach the core formation realm? Will I be able to form a nascent soul in this lifetime? We don't know, it's impossible. Even if I live for another couple hundred years, if all the time is spent on cultivation, what's the point? This is something you once told others. I just want to enjoy life to the fullest. Maybe in my next life, I'll be a genius like senior brother Liya." Xiaochuan chuckled, his face showing a look of yearning. Looking at the wrinkles at the corners of Xiaochuan's eyes, Guan couldn't help but mock himself. He always said to respect everyone's choices, yet he cared too much for those close to him. He patted Xiaochuan's shoulder, then turned his gaze to the horizon. Better think about how to kill the demon ancestor. After slaying startling immortal Lin, the seven-star spirit realm would certainly notice Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Since that's the case, no more pretending. It's time to show everyone swordsmanship that surpasses the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword. Guan squinted his eyes, his gaze seemingly piercing through the sky to the outer heavens. The Great Jiang Dynasty, Northern Territory. On the cliff, Xian Tianyi, the Taoist Lord, Xian Quan, Liang Songhai Taoist Tianshu, and others, more than 30 great cultivators stood side by side, their robes flapping in the wind. Following their gaze, the sky had been obscured by the vast demonic fog. Their divine senses had already locked onto the demon ancestor, the Taoist of immortality from the Three Pure Ones mountain, dressed in a white robe, held a horsetail whisk and waved it downward off the cliff. Rumble. The earth cracked, the mountain where the cliff was located separated from the barren plain, forming a deep, bottomless chasm. Spiritual energy rose from the chasm, forming a shocking energy wall, dispersing the clouds in the sky. Xian Tianyi glanced at the Taoist of immortality with the corner of his eye, then continued to stare at the demon ancestor. Everyone. Liang Songhai was about to speak when he suddenly sensed something, abruptly raising his head. It wasn't just him, the other great cultivators did the same. They saw the sky quickly darken. The starry sky appeared on the heavens, countless stars twinkling. Even meteors streaked across. The Taoist Lord couldn't help but frown, calculating with his fingers. The demon ancestor also saw this scene. Behind him was the dim demonic fog, while in front of him, half the sky was covered by the brilliant starry sky. Chapter 190 Vast Star-Suppressing Heaven-Boundless Sword. Tianwei Dynasty, Heavenly Palace Mountain. And Hao Si Yener and a group of cultivators walked out of the Heavenly Palace, gazing at the vast sky full of stars with wide eyes. The sky in the immortal cultivation world was very high. They had never seen so many stars, and they were so close that it seemed they could reach out and pluck them. What is this phenomenon? Could the sky be falling? Could this be the work of the demon ancestor? It shouldn't be. It might be a powerful formation, perhaps from the Tsangtian sect. Their formations are grand, embodying the essence of heaven and earth. Recently, there have been more and more demons in the nearby areas. I'm afraid it will be very difficult for us to protect the inheritance here. And Hao gazed at the starry sky, his eyes flickering. Si Yener stood next to him, marveling. She said a few words but received no response. She couldn't help but turn to look at him. What's wrong with you? Si Yener nudged his arm with her elbow and asked. And Hao took a deep breath and said, "This is the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. It should be an evolution of the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword." Sword Venerable Fudao? Everyone looked at him, their faces showing surprise and joy. They had been drawn out by the demonic might of the demon ancestor, and were fearful and uneasy. When the sky suddenly changed, they naturally became more tense. Now upon hearing In Hao's words, did this not imply that Sword Venerable Fudao was about to confront the demon ancestor? Si Yener knew that Sword Venerable Fudao was In Hao's master, which made her look forward to the upcoming battle even more. She couldn't forget the scene when Sword Venerable Fudao waved his sleeve and annihilated a great cultivator of the mystic heart realm. Such a powerful figure should not be defeated, right? Thinking carefully, no matter how strong the enemies that emerged in the world, Sword Venerable Fudao always emerged victorious. If he didn't act, it wouldn't matter. But when he did, it shocked the world. Taitsong Dynasty, on a blood-soaked plain, Wu Ju was fiercely battling with the demons. His fists moved like the wind, and each punch could explode the demons' bodies, making his presence even more terrifying than the demons. On the battlefield, tens of thousands of soldiers from the Taitsong Dynasty were fighting against the demons. Wu Ju looked up, his face filled with shock. How did the sky change so suddenly? Not only him, but the other soldiers were also frightened. However, the rampaging demons would not stop, forcing them to continue fighting. Miles away, a general clad in silver armor wielded a long spear, unmatched and invincible. He was Yi Yan, a disciple recruited by Guan in the Mystic Valley. Although Yi Yan was still in the Foundation Establishment realm, his physique and spear technique were exceptionally strong, far beyond other Foundation Establishment realm soldiers. Of course, he was still somewhat inferior to Wu Ju, but his spear technique was more agile. The spear danced like a dragon, and his movements were swift like a startled swan. With each thrust and pull, flesh and blood flew. Yi Yan also looked up at the starry sky, his eyes filled with envy. What kind of cultivation level could create such a phenomenon? Yi Yan wondered, having served in the military for decades and fought countless battles, his vision was already broad. It was precisely because of this that he understood his own insignificance. The world was vast, and the rulers of the world's destiny were those great cultivators who stood above the dynasties. In this life, he probably would not have the opportunity to witness the elegance of those great cultivators. Yi Yan collected his thoughts and continued fighting. On a distant mountaintop, Li Xiandao stood facing the wind, gazing at the myriad stars, his sword-like brows furrowed. With his current cultivation level observing the phenomenon in the sky, his feelings were deeper than Wu Ju's or Yi Yan's. The realm of immortal path, Li Xiandao murmured, his eyes drifting. Cultivators across the world were stunned by the star-filled sky, except for a few hiding in the mountains who remained unaware, such as Zhang Buku, who was still cultivating the heaven-cutting divine axe in that mountain cave. On a mountain trail in the western region of the Taitsong dynasty, Yilan Zhenqin and other disciples of the law enforcement hall stopped in their tracks, admiring the majestic scene of the stars in the sky. The disciples speculated that a great cultivator was about to confront that unknown terrifying demonic energy. Yilan withdrew her gaze and looked at Zhenqin, sighing slightly. Since the last disappearance, Zhenqin seemed like a different person, becoming silent. Even when questioned, Zhenqin did not respond, which made her very worried. She could only pray now that the demonic calamities would end soon so she could take Zhenqin back to the Supreme Sect to rest. In the Third Medicine Valley, all the disciples were astonished by the changes in the sky, and Lu Lingjun was gazing at the star-filled sky. She felt a vast sword intent that reminded her of Sword Venerable Fudao, but she also felt that this sword intent was stronger than what Sword Venerable Fudao had displayed before. Was it someone else? Or had Sword Venerable Fudao never shown his full strength before? Guan and Xiaochuan stood side by side, both gazing at the sky with similar expressions, but Guan only pretended to be shocked. His divine sense had already locked onto the demon ancestor. When he wielded the vast star-suppressing heaven-boundless sword, the demon ancestor had no escape. It was too late to turn back now. However, instead of retreating, the demon ancestor exploded with even stronger demonic energy, intending to invade the human race's territory. Sword Venerable Fudao? Let us determine the victor of this calamity today. The demon ancestor's cold voice echoed across the three dynasties. This time, people were not afraid. The word Sword Venerable Fudao seemed to have a certain power, giving them a great sense of security. By now, not only the immortal cultivation world, but even commoners knew the name of Sword Venerable Fudao. Sword Venerable Fudao had already become the guardian deity in the hearts of people across the three dynasties, even greater than the mountain god. The mountain god was ethereal and elusive, but Sword Venerable Fudao was a cultivator, closer to them. Northern territory of Great Jiang. After the demon ancestor's call, he leaped into the air, his demonic energy erupting, with thunderbolts intertwining around him. The demonic fog behind him billowed fiercely, and countless demonic beast phantoms roared deafeningly, causing the ground to crack continuously, as if the entire world was about to collapse. He quickly approached the cliff where Xian Tianyi and others were. Even though they knew Sword Venerable Fudao was about to act, Xian Tianyi and the others did not let their guard down. They all took out their strongest magic artifacts or formed formations, preparing to confront the demon ancestor. A vast sword intent suddenly descended, enveloping the world. Xian Tianyi and the others instinctively looked up, and then their eyes widened, and their mouths fell open. Even the inscrutable Taoist Lord and Taoist of Immortality could not remain calm at this moment, all showing shocked expressions. As they watched, the countless stars burst out with sword light, like innumerable sword shadows streaking down with flowing light, covering the entire sky, an awe-inspiring spectacle. Even someone as strong as the Mahayana realm felt insignificant as dust at this moment. The demon ancestor gazed at the endless starry sword shadows, a fleeting look of fear in his eyes, followed by a manic expression. Rumble. Amidst the rolling demonic fog, countless demonic beast phantoms condensed into a giant demon 1,000 feet high. The figure was human-like, standing on lions and tigers, with an azure dragon coiled around its waist, a phoenix spreading its wings on its shoulders. Its long hair writhed like a cluster of serpents, and its hands conjured a long blade's shadow, brandishing it skyward in fury. At this moment, Xian Tianyi and others, along with the approaching cultivators in the rear, were all stunned. It seemed as if they were witnessing a creation god resisting the sky, the visual impact making their hearts pound like war drums. Boom, boom, boom. Endless starry sword shadows descended, striking the long blade in the giant demon's hands. His demon blade was instantly submerged, and his demon body was continuously pierced through. He let out a soul-shaking roar and struck the sky with his palm. The starry sword shadows fell like the Milky Way, and the 1,000-foot-high giant demon was submerged in an instant. The ground shattered, dust flew, and winds howled across the world. The giant spiritual energy wall cast by the Taoist of Immortality shattered in an instant, startling Xian Tianyi and the others to gather their spiritual power to defend themselves. But the mountain they stood on was still pulverized, and they were swept away. People in the three dynasties felt the northern sky suddenly burst with blinding light, and the world lost its color in their eyes. Even the people in the third Medicine Valley were dazzled and closed their eyes. Lu Lingjun flew into the sky, shielding the valley with her spiritual power. Her beautiful face was full of incredulity, gradually losing its outline in the bright light. Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, Nianchu Cave. The cave walls shuddered, and Tian Yao were hid by the stone table, extremely nervous. She covered her head with her hands, murmuring, "Master." North Sea Mountains, in front of Mountain God Temple. Sage Xian Miao stood outside the forest, enveloping the mountains in his spiritual power. Yet even so, the surrounding forest still shook violently. He looked into the distance, his face filled with shock. Sword Venerable Fudao, Sage Xian Miao murmured. Such power made him feel that Sword Venerable Fudao might be no weaker than the mountain god. Or perhaps the mountain god did not act because he foresaw that there were still strong individuals like Sword Venerable Fudao in the world. Sage Xian Miao could not see the specific battle situation, but facing such grand sword intent, he could not think of how the demon ancestor could win. The intense light lasted for 10 breaths' time. When everyone regained their vision, the world was still filled with howling winds, and the earth shook. The starry sky spectacle displayed across the heavens gradually disappeared, revealing the blue sky. In the third Medicine Valley, Guan looked at the prompt before him, his brows furrowed. You successfully seized 1,030 years of lifespan from the demon ancestor, fifth layer of the loose immortal realm. How is it only a little over 1,000? It's not even as much as startling immortal Lin. Next to him, Xiaochuan cautiously opened his eyes, watching the sky stars gradually fade, and couldn't help asking Guan, "Senior brother, is it over?" He had expected an earth-shattering battle between Sword Venerable Fudao and the demon ancestor. Now looking at it, it was certainly earth-shattering but not much of a battle. Guan took a deep breath, pretending to be profound, and said, "I am not sure either. Perhaps only Lu Lingjun knows the situation afar." The servant disciples behind them also discussed this matter, their eyes looking toward Lu Lingjun in the sky. Lu Lingjun hovered in the air, looking northward with a look of fear in her eyes. A small snake peeked out from her hair. It was the white spirit demon emperor. It hissed its tongue, exclaiming, "My goodness, such terrifying demonic energy dissipated just like that?" The demon ancestor was not even an opponent for one move of Sword Venerable Fudao. Lu Lingjun did not respond to it because she was also pondering this. Just how strong is Sword Venerable Fudao? Before long, the outer gate city in the distance erupted with cheers, the disciples of the Supreme Sect's Law Enforcement Hall unleashing their pent-up emotions. To see Sword Venerable Fudao act twice in one day, no regrets in this life. Most importantly, the demon ancestor had perished. Does it not signify the end of the demonic tribulations? Chapter 191. Sword Venerable shakes the world. Holy Land saves the world. Rumble, rumble. Dust flew in the air as Xiantiani flew out from the ruins. He ascended to the sky, overlooking the scene below. His eyes widened. His gaze crossed the chasm created by the Taoist of immortality. On the other side of the land, the demon ancestor's figure was no longer visible. The horrifying demonic might from before had completely disappeared. All he could see was rolling dust and demonic mist, the area appearing like a chaotic world. Was that a sword array just now? Xiantiani frowned, thinking to himself. The Sword Venerable Fudao hadn't appeared. Yet he was able to vanquish the demon ancestor with one move, truly frightening him. This was his first real encounter with the might of the Sword Venerable Fudao. Even on the ocean, he had never seen such a sword array. Other great cultivators also gathered from all directions. They were unharmed, only thrown off by the force. They were very excited. The demon ancestor is dead. Is the demonic calamity finally over? Ha ha ha, we finally won, and we didn't have to die. The Sword Venerable Fudao is truly too powerful. Even among the immortals there are still gaps. Why would someone so powerful hide their identity? Ask yourself that. For someone of his caliber, if he were to step in a few times, it's already commendable. If his true identity were revealed, you'd all come begging to him whenever trouble arises. The great cultivators were very excited, some even burst out laughing. The years of pent-up aggression were finally released. Liang Songhai, sect leader of Tsangtian sect, spoke. Everyone, I suggest that the various sects of the three dynasties should all erect statues of the sword Venerable Fudao, not to curry favor, but to let the world remember his benevolence forever. Hearing this, the great cultivators of other sects all applauded. The Supreme Elder Xianquan frowned, hesitated to speak. Xiantiani glanced at Liang Songhai and snorted coldly, but said nothing. Subsequently, under Liang Kanghai's orders, they started patrolling the area to ensure that the demon ancestor was truly dead. Far away in the Third Medicine Valley, Guan was also using his divine sense to search the battlefield. The demon ancestor left behind no demon core or demon treasure upon death. This guy died so worthlessly. Could it be he could be resurrected later? Guan suppressed his thoughts and joined his disciples in discussing the strength of the sword Venerable Fudao. Now it depends on how the Seven Stars Spirit Realm reacts. The Seven Stars Spirit Realm claimed to be a holy land. They shouldn't act recklessly. That startling immortal Lin had not revealed his true name. Even the disciples of the Supreme Sect didn't know who he was. The fall of the demon ancestor. This news spread throughout the world in just 2 days. The reason it spread so quickly was that the demon ancestor had previously called out to the sword Venerable Fudao when he moved south. The sword Venerable Fudao's prestige reached unprecedented heights across the three dynasties. Although the rampaging demons had not completely dispersed, the demon kings were already scared and had withdrawn from the lands of the three dynasties, greatly boosting the morale of the human race. Everyone in the world sang praises of the sword Venerable Fudao. When Guan disguised as the Green Hero traveled through the mortal world, in every city, village, and town, people were discussing the sword Venerable Fudao, much to his surprise. He hadn't expected the news to spread so fast. After the fall of the demon ancestor, demons were still numerous, indicating that the true controller of the demons was not the demon ancestor. However, as long as the demon kings retreated, the three dynasties would eventually triumph. Guan did not remain idle, seizing the time to accumulate lifespans. The ability to seize lifespans was his greatest secret, so he couldn't use the identity of the sword Venerable Fudao to massacre, mainly because the sword Venerable Fudao seldom slaughtered demons before. It was more reasonable to do so as the Green Hero, as there were many heroes like him in the current world. Days passed by. A month later, Guan's lifespan broke 8 million years. On this day, LV Batian came to the Third Medicine Valley to find him. Guan received LV Batian in a pavilion. LV Batian was very happy, constantly praising the sword Venerable Fudao. The sword Venerable Fudao appeared during his tenure as the head of the Supreme Sect, and he successfully retained the sword Venerable Fudao. The Supreme Elders were very pleased with his actions, and Xiantiani also stated that he would not compete for the position of sect leader. The demonic calamity is virtually over. Besides the sword Venerable Fudao slaying the demon ancestor, the Holy Land has also opened its doors, sending disciples down the mountain to save the world. LV Batian lightly shook his teacup, smiling. Guan asked, "The Holy Land? I heard from the Third Mist that the Holy Land never intervenes in the affairs of the continent. Why did they intervene this time?" LV Batian explained. It is said that the formation of the demonic calamity relates not only to the demon ancestor, but also to an ancient demon known as the Evil Demon. The Evil Demon was sealed underground by the Holy Land. When the demon ancestor fell, and the demons continued to rampage, the Holy Land realized something was wrong. After investigating, although the Evil Demon remained sealed, his demonic chi seeped into demon bodies through nature's spiritual energy, causing their corruption into demons. Because the lands of the three dynasties lie in the southernmost part of the continent, furthest from the Evil Demon, the human race was not corrupted. The Holy Land also revealed that the Evil Demon grows increasingly powerful, and will inevitably emerge in the future, bringing another catastrophe. The Holy Land will face it alongside the various sects of the human race, as they consider it their responsibility for not completely eradicating the evil demon. Hearing this, Guan almost developed a sense of admiration for the 7 Stars spirit realm. Truly flawless and impeccable. If Guan hadn't searched through so many memories, based on LV Baitian's words alone, the Holy Land indeed seemed great. But he knew it was all orchestrated by the Holy Land themselves. It was also a good thing. The Holy Land sending disciples to save the world indicated that the 7 Stars spirit realm cared about its image and wouldn't act recklessly. It also meant that the 7 Stars spirit realm feared the sword Venerable Fu Dao, unwilling to confront him directly, giving Guan more time to grow. Still, Guan couldn't let his guard down. He had to watch out for the 7 Stars spirit realm investigating him in secret. Guan, feigning joy, asked, "That is indeed good news. The Holy Land must be really powerful. Do other sects know of this?" Yes, all sects received a message from the Holy Land's envoys. It's estimated that within 5 years, demons will be no more, and the 3 dynasties might even expand into the demon lands. For the Taitsong dynasty and the Supreme Sect, it could be a bit troublesome. LV Baitian nodded. Guan was surprised and asked, "What kind of trouble?" With the Great Jiang dynasty and the Tianwei dynasty standing between the Taitsong dynasty and the demon lands, it makes it hard for us to mine spirit mines or seek opportunities in the demon lands. Over time, the Taitsong dynasty will be swallowed by the other 2 dynasties, weakening the Supreme Sect's influence in the immortal cultivation world. I'm planning to support Li Xiandao to accomplish this. LV Baitian spoke worriedly, then began sipping tea. Guan wanted to say, "You guys are really persistent. The demonic calamity isn't over, and you're already thinking about dividing the demon lands?" But he couldn't interfere. The Supreme Sect indeed needed to grow stronger, which would help him to continue surviving. LV Baitian started discussing the Supreme Sect's upcoming plans with a sincere attitude. Clearly, he still hadn't given up on recruiting Guan as a disciple. According to him, once the demonic calamity was resolved, the Supreme Elders would no longer travel south, but lead the Supreme Sect's disciples to explore the demon lands, constantly enhancing the Supreme Sect's foundation. They even considered the Tsongtian sect as a hypothetical enemy, and the Tsongtian sect felt the same. LV Baitian found the Tsongtian sect's over-the-top praise of the sword Venerable Fu Dao nauseating. Do they want to align with the sword Venerable Fu Dao? Dream on. Guan, why don't you write a book with the sword Venerable Fu Dao as the protagonist, just like Pan An's works which spread throughout the world? LV Baitian looked at Guan seriously. Write about myself again? Guan wasn't so narcissistic. He immediately shook his head. No way, I don't want to write books for others anymore. Besides, the karma of the sword Venerable Fu Dao is too significant. If I write it and the book becomes famous, it attract endless trouble. Sect leader, do you want to get me killed? Not to mention, you wouldn't be able to defend against the enemies of the sword Venerable Fu Dao. LV Baitian agreed, temporarily setting the idea aside. After chatting for a long time, LV Baitian left regretfully. Guan didn't stay idle. He left the 3rd Medicine Valley, spent an hour in the Mystic Valley, and then disguised himself as the Green Hero again to descend the mountain. Time flew by, and another month passed. Guan celebrated his 95th birthday. He was getting closer to 100 years old. On this day, Xian Tianyi visited Guan. He pulled Guan, who was still sowing seeds in the garden, back to the pavilion, looking mysterious. What's the matter, so urgent? Guan asked, seeing Xian Tianyi set up restrictions inside the room. Xian Tianyi turned to the desk and took a book from his storage bag, slamming it onto the table. Guan looked closely, his eyelids twitching. Sword Venerable Travelogue. Good heavens. He immediately said, "Are you crazy? Daring to mess with the sword Venerable Fu Dao? Aren't you afraid he'll come after you?" Xian Tianyi raised an eyebrow. "I'm just writing a book. What trouble can it bring?" "Be careful. The sword Venerable Fu Dao might tap your shoulder at midnight." "Oh, that's a nice idea. Could add to the atmosphere." "No, I'm serious, don't mess around." Guan became anxious. The Supreme Secret Records had already tainted his real name, and he didn't want his other identity to be tarnished too. LV Batian was such a beast, unable to find me. So he asked Xiantiani to write? If he had known, Guan should have taken the task himself. Seeing Gu An's anxiety, Xiantiani felt moved. This brother was not a mistake. Don't worry, this time I changed the style. I'm imitating your books. Take a look first. Xiantiani waved his hand assuredly. Guan immediately picked up the sword Venerable Travelogue and seriously read through it. Xiantiani walked to the bookshelf, wanting to see what books Guan usually read. A long while passed. Guan put down the sword Venerable Travelogue, letting out a sigh of relief. He turned to Xiantiani and said, "It's not bad, indeed it doesn't have so many romantic affairs. The sword Venerable Fudao is now revered by cultivators worldwide. You can mythologize him, but not degrade him." Xiantiani turned around, glaring at him. "What do you mean? You think the green hero is degrading?" By the way, I've always been curious. Is the green hero travelogue made up or real experiences? Half true, half false. The anger in Xiantiani's eyes dissipated significantly, replaced by embarrassment. Which half is true, and which half is false? Guan frowned. It turned out to be true. Do you think you're worthy of Ms. Z? That night in the abandoned temple, you two were so. Guan suddenly wanted to find a knife to poke Xiantiani. Xiantiani fake coughed. Let's talk about this book. Don't get distracted. Give me some advice. After all, Panin knows the cultivators of the world well. I heard other sects are also sending people to write books, imitating Panin, to win over the sword Venerable Fudao. Our supreme sect can't lose in book writing. Chapter 192. Can't lift it, just can't lift it. First of all, the name cannot be called travelogue, it has no attraction at all. As an immortal cultivator, do you want to see people traveling the world? Don't they have the ability? I like to watch it because my aptitude is poor and I don't dare to leave the supreme sect on normal days. Guan commented pompously. Xiantiani sat down beside him, carefully listening to his suggestions. Just like that, Guan began his long-winded tirade. Putting aside everything else, bragging felt exhilarating. No wonder so many people like to act as mentors. Guan enjoyed it very much. 2 ancient hours quickly passed. Guan stopped reluctantly, while Xiantiani felt deep admiration. Realizing there were so many tricks to writing a book. What to make enjoyable, relatable, create tension, and more, listening to him was utterly fascinating. Excitedly, Xiantiani stood up to bid farewell. I'm planning to visit the Heavenly Repair platform to feel the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao, and rewrite this book. Following your advice, I won't call it Sword Venerable Travelogue anymore. I will come up with a new name. After saying that, he walked towards the door. Guan stood up to see him off. After going downstairs, Guan watched him leave with a look of contemplation. An Exian suddenly ran over and said, "Master, the white spirit rat is missing." Guan responded casually, "It's gone, then it's gone. It knows how to come back on its own." Many disciples in the valley were rewarded by him and allowed to cultivate under the mystic pure tree. But the one who benefited the most was the white spirit rat, whose maximum lifespan had increased several times over. He suspected it had achieved enlightenment in its dreams. How difficult enlightenment was. Lu Lingjun practiced under the mystic pure tree every day without success, but the white spirit rat managed to do it. However, no one else noticed this. The white spirit rat appeared the same as before, just a bit more agile. An Exian looked worried as she listened. Since Guan had handed the white spirit rat to her, she no longer disliked it. Guan thought she was becoming a rat slave. Guan led an Exian to the side, preparing to guide her in her cultivation. Now Guan was already a great cultivator at the 8th floor of the Foundation Establishment realm, more than capable of guiding an Exian. On the other side, Xiantiani arrived at the Heavenly Repair platform. It had been 2 months since the fall of the demon ancestor. Because of Sword Venerable Fudao, the Supreme Sect had become the most prestigious sect in the 3 Dynasties region, attracting numerous cultivators to visit the Heavenly Repair platform. Zhou Yijian guarded the heaven-cutting axe, with dozens of disciples by his side, all his followers. The heaven-cutting axe was the inheritance left by Sword Venerable Fu Dao to the disciples of the Supreme Sect, so Zhuo Yijian did not allow disciples from other sects to challenge this legacy. No one but disciples of our sect can test the heaven-cutting axe. Zhuo Yijian shouted sternly, causing dissatisfaction among the cultivators surrounding the heaven-cutting axe. Someone even questioned his authority. Zhuo Yijian defiantly replied, "I am Zhuo Yijian, the maniac swordsman of Tsanghu Lake. My sword was once used by the Sword Venerable himself, and I have the duty to safeguard his legacy." With that statement, no one dared to question him further, though many still disapproved of his attitude. Xian Tianyi watched from a distance, equally displeased. An insignificant nascent soul realm cultivator dare to act so arrogantly? He suddenly recalled Gu An's warning. Yes, this could be written down. In the future, he would write that Sword Venerable Fu Dao killed people with a shoulder tap to frighten this kid. Xian Tianyi, long time no see. A light chuckle caught Xian Tianyi's attention. He turned to see a man in a purple robe approaching. The man was elegant, with his robe fluttering in the wind and a feather crown on his head, attracting the gazes of disciples along his path. Xian Tianyi slightly raised his chin and said, "Ji Xianling, it's been years. How come you've just now entered the Mahayana realm?" As soon as his words fell, the heavenly repair platform was abuzz. Even Zhuo Yijian, standing beside the heaven-cutting axe, couldn't help but look toward the two. Very quickly, someone recognized Xian Tianyi, making them even more curious about Ji Xianling. Where did this Mahayana realm cultivator come from? Weren't there only 2 Mahayana realm cultivators in the 3 dynasties region? Ji Xianling walked up to Xian Tianyi, standing 5 steps apart, their heights nearly identical. Xian Tianyi was more arrogant, while Ji Xianling, though not as proud, was equally formidable. "Brother Xian, you made rapid progress after a trip to the ocean. Are you now a disciple of the Supreme Sect or the Star Sea congregations?" Ji Xianling asked with a smile. Xian Tianyi scoffed. "I can be a disciple of any sect I want, can you?" Ji Xianling chuckled and continued asking, "I wonder, Brother Xian, have you met Sword Venerable Fu Dao?" Xian Tianyi suddenly had an idea, smiling as he said, "Of course I have. If you want to meet Sword Venerable Fu Dao, you can. See the heaven-cutting axe over there? If you can move it even slightly, it'll take you to see Sword Venerable Fu Dao." "Really?" "Absolutely. It seems this axe is hard to move," Ji Xianling said thoughtfully. Xian Tianyi replied proudly, "Indeed it is. Even with my cultivation, I could only make it shift a little." Many disciples of the Supreme Sect who had seen him lift the axe were hesitant to speak, not daring to contradict him in public. "Then let me try." Ji Xianling turned and walked toward the heaven-cutting axe, with Xian Tianyi following closely behind. Upon reaching the heaven-cutting axe, Zhuo Yijian wanted to stop him but was instantly subdued by Xian Tianyi's divine sense, rendering him immobile. Zhuo Yijian looked at Xian Tianyi in fear, feeling furious. Ji Xianling ignored Zhuo Yijian's minor actions. He raised his hand to grasp the handle of the heaven-cutting axe. More and more cultivators gathered. On the heavenly repair platform one could find disciples from all sects of the 3 dynasties' immortal cultivation world, even including demon path disciples. In the face of the demon calamity, the righteous and demonic paths had ceased hostility to jointly resist demons, so the Supreme Sect did not prevent demon path disciples from coming, as long as they didn't cause trouble. Under the watchful eyes of Sword Venerable Fu Dao, who would dare to act recklessly? The moment Ji Xianling grasped it, he felt the same as Ji Xiaoyu, unshakable. However, remembering that Xian Tianyi could make it shift with all his might, he felt slightly reassured and began cultivating energy. Boom! The aura of the Mahayana realm was fully unleashed, startling the surrounding cultivators to retreat. Xian Tianyi's eyes narrowed. He immediately isolated Ji Xuanling's aura with his own, directing it skyward to avoid harming others. Figures appeared out of thin air on the heavenly repair platform. LV Baitian, Gu Zong, Ji Hantian, and Lu Lingjun had all arrived and were watching Ji Xianling. Ji Xuanling's brows furrowed. He shifted his stance for better leverage, even emitting golden flames from his 7 orifices, causing the surrounding space to quake violently. The heavenly repair platform trembled, and LV Batian and others cultivated energy to channel mana into the platform, preventing it from shattering. Despite using secret techniques, Ji Xianling found himself unable to budge the heaven-cutting axe, becoming increasingly agitated. He let out a low shout, veins bulging from his neck, his face flushed red, no longer composed or elegant. Xian Tiany's mouth twitched uncontrollably. Yes, just like that. The so-called prodigy of the seven-star spirit realm, nothing more. Ji Xuanling's entire body ignited with golden flames, resembling a human torch. Yet no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move the heaven-cutting axe. How could this be? Ji Xianling was shocked, unable to accept this reality. He could accept not being able to lift it, but he couldn't accept being weaker than Xian Tiany. The harder he tried, the more he felt the heaven-cutting axe was immovable. How did Xian Tiany manage to do it? Could it be the Star Sea congregations had deeper foundations than the seven-star spirit realm? Enough, it's about time. If you can't move it, you can't move it. As a prodigy of the Holy Land, can you not accept this fact? Looks like the seven-star spirit realm's training is inadequate, only teaching cultivation, not character formation? Xian Tiany's voice rang out. This guy was incredibly annoying, broadcasting his voice for all to hear, as if afraid no one would know Ji Xuanling's identity. Ji Xianling cursed inwardly, withdrawing the flames around him. The terrifying pressure of the Mahayana realm vanished, allowing everyone to breathe a sigh of relief. Xian Tiany no longer suppressed Zuijian, and began mocking Ji Xianling. Ji Xianling tried to keep smiling, praising the greatness of Sword Venerable Fu Dao. After all, he was a renowned great cultivator. Seeing Ji Xuanling's humility, Zuijian felt favorable towards him, speaking up. Actually, Senior Xian failed before as well. He couldn't make the heaven-cutting axe budge. Upon hearing this, Ji Xuanling's smile froze. Xian Tiany wasn't angry. He became even more pleased. He decided he would definitely include the shoulder-tapping detail in his book to make Zuijian restless. On the other side, in the Third Medicine Valley, Guan pondered the purpose of Ji Xuanling's visit. It probably wasn't to investigate him. If so, would they come with such fanfare? Could it be the Holy Land was preparing to integrate into the immortal cultivation world? After the Mahayana realm pressure dissipated, an Exian relaxed and raised her sword again, saying, Master, Senior Xian said just now that the other party comes from the Holy Land. Does this mean the Holy Land intends to accept us? In her mind, the Holy Land was definitely more powerful than the Supreme Sect. Hearing this, Guan couldn't help but speculate if the seven-star spirit realm wanted to annex the Supreme Sect. Facing the unknown Sword Venerable Fu Dao, they couldn't continue to suppress openly, mainly because their previous actions were in secret and couldn't be publicly exposed. But the Lin family wouldn't let it rest. The Lin family was a major clan in the seven-star spirit realm. Guan was ready to bully the older and more powerful ones. He said, How would I know? Focus on practicing your sword skills. You're good in every way, but your mind isn't focused. Whenever there's a chance, you slack off. An Exian blushed and continued practicing her sword. Guan collected his thoughts, no longer thinking about the seven-star spirit realm. He began to think about his new book. It was about time to start writing Journey to the West. Perfect, he could use this book to critique the high and mighty seven-star spirit realm, awakening the thoughts of cultivators everywhere. Of course, this book had to be written slowly to avoid alerting them. Writing for decades, by the time the seven-star spirit realm realized, Guan would have already reached the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. News of the prodigy Ji Xianling from the Holy Land failing to lift the heaven-cutting axe quickly spread, exciting the disciples of the Supreme Sect. As the Holy Land began saving the world, many legends about the seven-star spirit realm sprouted like mushrooms after the rain. To many disciples of the Supreme Sect, it seemed like the Holy Land was trying to steal the glory of Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Why didn't the Holy Land act before the demon ancestor's death? Now, the moment a prodigy from the Holy Land appeared in the Supreme Sect, they were overshadowed by Sword Venerable Fu Dao. How could they not be pleased? This news quickly spread from the supreme sect to the immortal cultivation world of the three dynasties, attracting more and more cultivators to come to the supreme sect, eager to witness the prowess of the heaven-cutting axe. Chapter 193. Just sparring, not life-threatening. With the arrival of midsummer and under the scorching sun, Guan was picking medicinal herbs in Mystic Valley. As the number of demons and monsters in the world significantly decreased, the sky became bluer. Now, with the three dynasties, the Holy Land, and the Demon Emperor's forces actively eliminating demons, Guan's speed of harvesting lifespans also slowed down. However, everything gradually returned to peace, which was a good thing for him. Peace in the world, quietly farming, and developing steadily, that was the true path. Lu Jujia came to Guan's side and asked softly, "Senior brother, are you going to participate in the alchemy contest at the end of the year?" After the demon ancestor died, LV Batian became active again. First, he made Xian Tianyi write a book, and then he organized the first alchemy contest of the world. The various rich rewards attracted the attention of cultivators across the world, and disciples of the Supreme Sect could participate as well. In Lu Jujia's view, Guan's alchemy skills were quite good. He had elevated batch after batch of servant disciples to outer disciples. Just in Mystic Valley alone, more than 20 disciples had achieved foundation establishment successfully, and new faces appeared in Medicine Valley almost every year. No need to join the excitement. Having my name on the golden list is enough for me to make a living. Guan casually replied. There would be many similar world contests in the future. If there were a calligraphy contest, he might participate since he liked practicing writing daily. Lu Jujia sighed at the development of the Supreme Sect. Now the Supreme Sect was vastly different from when he first joined, with a more upright atmosphere and a stronger sect. Previously, even seeing a nascent soul cultivator was difficult, but now there were numerous divinity transformation, void crossing, and unification cultivators on the heavenly repair platform, and he even heard of mystic heart realm affairs. The stronger the Supreme Sect, the more opportunities for the disciples. For example, even participating in organizing the first alchemy contest of the world could reap significant rewards, making it suitable for disciples with ample time but lacking cultivation resources. Guan continued to pick herbs while attentively listening. Listening more to the opinions of lower-level cultivators about the Supreme Sect revealed more about whether the Supreme Sect was on the right path. Wait, why do I have this sect leader's mindset again? Blame LV Batian. However, Guan was accustomed to acting as LV Batian's behind-the-scenes advisor. This feeling was actually quite satisfying, just speaking without doing, fulfilling his desire to command without exerting effort. LV Batian also enjoyed it. Over time, perhaps one day Guan would want to manage the sect personally. It had been several months since the demon ancestor's fall. The Supreme Sect dispatched inner disciples and outer disciples to eliminate demons, while inheriting disciples and true disciples were sent to the demon land for exploration. The demon land was vast, an unknown treasure trove for the sects of the three dynasties. Even great cultivators of the mystic heart realm could not resist going. Lu Lingjun had left the Third Medicine Valley as well, but her departure did not affect the Third Medicine Valley. When Lu Jujia finished speaking, Guan finally said meaningfully, "You must cultivate the technique left by Wuxin seriously. The rise of the Supreme Sect shows that times have changed, and we both have opportunities." Lu Jujia nodded, starting to imagine the future. Guan handed the picked herbs to Lu Jujia, gave a few reminders, and then left Mystic Valley. Next was the picking in Tianya Valley, Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, Mountain God Temple, and Nianchu Cave. In the evening he had to go to the 8 scenic caves. It was busy but fulfilling. Although the number of demonized monsters was decreasing, Guan still gained a lot of lifespans by picking medicinal herbs. He was even preparing to expand Nianchu Cave Mansion, just as he needed to find 2 female demons for Tianyao. At night, in Nianchu Cave Mansion, Guan sat at a stone table, sipping tea while watching Tianyao and 2 little cat demons. The demon land lacked nothing but demons, and Guan sought out demons that were suffering. These 2 little cat demons were twins. Their parents were eaten by a demonized monster last month, and they barely escaped, suffering many injuries over the past month. Tian Yaoer was cleaning their wounds. Seeing her joyful yet distressed expression, Guan couldn't help but think of an Xin. Do women all like to keep pets? Guan extended his divine sense to the depths of the demon land. The legend of the evil demon spread continuously in the 3 dynasties, making the evil demon a dire threat to all, more terrifying than the demon ancestor. Even the ancient Holy Land could not shake it. The demonic chi of the evil demon was constantly spreading. Even Guan, in the 9th layer of the wandering immortal realm, needed to spend some time searching for it. Half an hour later, Guan's divine sense locked onto a mountain range deep within the continent, a place nearly 10 million miles away from Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, with demonic chi covering a radius of over 1 million miles. Guan's divine sense penetrated the densest area of demonic chi. Along the way, he saw a group of mysterious cultivators, none of whom were weak, with the weakest at the Mahayana realm. They had set up camp in a mountain forest's temple, each cultivating alone without interacting. It seemed like the 7-star spirit realm wanted to guard against the evil demon breaking its seal. Soon he felt a strong restriction, breakthrough only possible by someone at the wandering immortal realm. He felt he could break it, but he did not want to alarm the 7-star spirit realm or the evil demon, so he withdrew his divine sense. Take it slow, no rush. If he could reach a lifespan of 100 million years before the evil demon broke its seal, great. If not, he would break through early. Guan called up his attribute panel, and saw that his lifespan was about to hit 9 million years, feeling calm inside. After a while, Guan asked, "Have you thought of what to name them?" The 2 little cat demons had low spiritual wisdom, still at the first order. Tian Yaoer thought for a while and said, "Master, why don't you name them? Speaking of which, I still don't know what Master's name is." Upon saying this, her tone turned wistful, her gaze at Guan filled with grievance. Ignoring her look, Guan said, "Let's call them Tianqing and Tianbai." Both cat demons were white. The names Tianqing and Tianbai came to Guan's mind because of his Qinghong sword and Yilan's white spirit sword. Tian Yaoer immediately flattered, "Sounds good, as expected of Master." Guan stood up and left with a parting word. "Remember, don't let them step on the herbs." Seeing him disappear into thin air, Tian Yaoer pouted, then picked up the 2 cat demons and brought them to the stone table. She suddenly noticed 2 books on the table. Sword Venerable Legend? Tian Yaoer became interested, placing the 2 cat demons on the table, then picked up one of the books and started reading. At the end of summer, the heat in the world persisted. In the 3rd Medicine Valley, Xian Tianyi sat on a chair, looking depressed. He couldn't help but ask, "Why doesn't my Sword Venerable Legend sell as much as your book?" Guan was writing, answering, "Maybe there are too many books of the same type, so it has a weaker effect." Not to mention other sects, just the Supreme Sect had produced dozens of books about Sword Venerable Fudao. Green Hero didn't have Pan-Ans appeal, so how could it be popular? Xian Tianyi sighed, feeling he was better suited to writing travelogues. He picked up a piece of paper Guan had just finished writing and read aloud. Chaos wasn't divided, and the world was in turmoil, vast and boundless, unseen by anyone. Since Panga broke the primordial chaos, from then on, clear and turbid were distinguished. Just the opening poem captivated him. This must be an investiture of the gods type of book. He read on seriously, finding it fascinating. When he finished the first page, he wanted to find the second, but Guan hadn't written it yet. Guan wasn't just recalling the plot, but also thinking about the handwriting. How to make it look good. "Forget it, you keep writing. I'm here to say goodbye today." Xian Tianyi put down the paper and said. Without looking up, Guan asked, "Where are you going?" Xian Tianyi replied, "To the demon land to find the evil demon." "The Holy Land is leading us." Guan nodded and said, "Be very careful, don't be complacent because of your cultivation level." "You brat, how dare you lecture me? I've roamed the oceans, unlike you who stay in the Supreme Sect all day. Don't worry, I can't possibly die. I'm invincible below the immortal path." Xian Tianyi stood up, full of spirit, and said. Guan looked at him and asked, "What if you encounter an immortal path being?" "Then he'll die gloriously," Xian Tianyi said, turning to leave. At the door he looked back and urged, "Write faster. I want to see if your book can surpass investiture of the gods." He pushed the door open and left. Guan did not get up to see him off. Surpass investiture of the gods? Guan chuckled, continuing to write. As dusk approached, he finally left the Third Medicine Valley. Late at night, in the mountains and forests, wearing animal skins, Zhang Buku strolled forward, carrying a stone axe at his waist. His eyes were fixed on the firelight on the mountain, where there was a temple, illuminated by firelight and an inexplicably familiar aura. He had left the cave a month ago, heading north, seeking opportunities in the demon land. Along the way, he had hardly interacted with cultivators or demons, making him very nervous as he cautiously approached the mountain. Soon he entered the temple. It was large, with Zhang Buku standing in the outer courtyard hesitating. The firelight was just behind a wall. "Since you're here, come over and meet." A voice came from the other side of the courtyard wall. Hearing this, Zhang Buku breathed a sigh of relief and leaped over the wall. He landed in front of the fire, scrutinizing the black-clad man sitting opposite. The man had a stern face, and beside him was a noticeable heavy sword. While Zhang Buku observed Liya was also observing him. "My name is Zhang Buku. May I know your name, Taoist friend?" Zhang Buku cupped his fists and said. He could sense the person before him was very strong, but now he was no longer the same as before. He was only somewhat nervous, not afraid. Liya replied. "My name is Liya. Why do you have half-demon energy in you?" Zhang Buku answered. "My father is human, my mother is a demon. Are you the same as me?" Liya? That name sounded familiar. Upon hearing his question, Liya glared at him and snorted. "Of course not. I only consumed a demon treasure, having the power of demon blood." Zhang Buku felt a bit disappointed upon hearing this. Noticing the stone axe at Zhang Buku's waist, Liya stood up and smiled. "Kid, how about we spar a bit?" Since witnessing Sword Venerable Fudeo's vast star-suppressing heaven-boundless sword, he had understood the Taitsung Divine Shocking Sword better. He had been diligently practicing for half a year, eager to test it out. Zhang Buku instinctively touched the stone axe at his waist and asked, "Are we really just sparring?" Liya nodded. "Just sparring, no life-threatening moves." "I've been practicing my swordsmanship for half a year, and want to test it." Zhang Buku's eyes lit up and he smiled. "To be honest, I've been practicing hard for some time too. All right, let's go." He didn't expect someone to be so fortunate, surpassing decades of his hard work by sheer chance. Seeing him puzzled, Zhang Buku began to recount his experiences, omitting Gu An's existence, as he had promised not to cause trouble for Gu in listening to Zhang Buku's story. Liya felt even more speechless. Where did this sparrow come from? Why hadn't he encountered it? Although he was known as the person of heavenly destiny in the Li family, blessed with great chi fortune, he felt vastly inferior compared to Zhang Buku. The two, now familiar through their fight, continued their conversation. Far away, tens of thousands of miles away, Guan, who was slaying demons, smiled and then turned to walk into the darkness. After staying in the temple for 2 days, Zhang Buku and Liya joined hands to head north, seeking opportunities in the demon land. During that period, Zhang Buku offered to teach his axe technique to Liya, which deeply touched him. However, determined to concentrate on swordsmanship, Liya declined, realizing that his loss wasn't due to his swordsmanship, but because Zhang Buku's physique was far stronger. Liya began to wonder if accompanying Zhang Buku might lead to great opportunities. If junior brother Gu knew he was seriously injured again, he would surely worry about him. Time flew by, and a year passed quickly. In early May of that year, Gu An's total lifespan reached 10 million years, and the demons in the 3 dynasties had become scarce. He no longer descended the mountain, returning to his former farming life. Although the trend of seeking opportunities northward was rising, The number of new disciples recruited by the Supreme Sect each year continued to grow, keeping the sect lively. This year, the number of servant disciples in the Third Medicine Valley exceeded 600, a quarter of whom were new. Those who left had been promoted thanks to the foundation establishment pills bestowed by Guan. As a result, Guan's network within the Supreme Sect grew wider. Now, whenever he went to Outer Gate City, disciples would always greet him. The number of servant disciples in the Mystic Valley also reached 50. When Guan wanted to expand the Medicine Valley, the Outer Sect Great Elder LV Songhan readily agreed. Guan's book Shattering Void had brought him many benefits, and combined with the LV family's backing, he would comply with most of Guan's requests. One day, Guan came to the North Sea Mountain, embodying the mountain god, to inspect Sage Xianmiao's progress over time. Sage Xianmiao had also recruited some minor demons to assist, giving him more time for cultivation. When the mountain god arrived, he immediately rose to welcome him, and accompanied the mountain god to pick medicinal herbs. During this process, he mentioned some recent events in the North Sea Mountain. Though the demon disaster had ended, cultivators often fought over treasures and grudges. He saved many people in the name of the mountain god, hoping to spread the mountain god's name. Interestingly, although the mountain god's name was widely known, only Sage Xianmiao could sense Guan's presence. Guan speculated that it was because others hadn't seen him, while those like Zhen Qin and other disciples of the law enforcement hall, who had seen him, did not worship him. The disciples of the Supreme Sect only revered Sword Venerable Fudao. Mountain God, what do you think of the Holy Land? Sage Xianmiao suddenly asked, his expression slightly tense. While picking medicinal herbs, Guan replied, "Why do you ask?" Sage Xianmiao answered, "I always felt the demon disaster was related to the Holy Land, and the recent rumors about the evil demon. I found in some historical records of Three Pure Ones Mountain that the evil demon appeared only after the birth of the demon ancestor. There's no clue about where he came from or why he came. Didn't Three Pure Ones Mountain also claim to be a holy land? If you suspect something, why not investigate the Seven Stars Spirit Realm?" Guan asked nonchalantly. Did Sage Xianmiao want him to act against the Seven Stars Spirit Realm? That was impossible. Before fully understanding the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, Guan wouldn't act rashly. Sage Xianmiao stepped forward and whispered, "We did investigate before, but it resulted in a near-catastrophic disaster. Since then, Three Pure Ones Mountain no longer dares to mention the Holy Land. Even my master stays apprehensive about them." Guan wasn't surprised. The land of the three dynasties had undergone numerous dynastic changes and sect upheavals. Yet only the Seven Stars Spirit Realm persisted. Surely, there were those who suspected it but didn't dare offend it. "Be careful tonight. Their people are coming for you," Guan suddenly said with a smile, catching Sage Xianmiao off guard. Guan's visit to gather medicinal herbs today was because he sensed two Mahayana realm presences approaching the North Sea Mountain, one of whom had set off from the Supreme Sect. Sage Xianmiao wanted to ask more, but Guan refused to say anything. After gathering the herbs, Guan took a portion, leaving the rest for him, and then disappeared into the forest. Sage Xianmiao became restless, anticipating an encounter with people from the Seven Stars Spirit Realm that night. At dusk, the North Sea shimmered. Ji Xianling stood at the shore, holding a book with the words Sword Venerable Legend on its cover. Out of nowhere, a figure appeared beside him, a man dressed in a gold-threaded red robe, with a ruby-embedded headpiece burning with golden-red flames. His right hand was placed behind his waist, and arrogance marked his brows. "Why are you slower than me?" Ji Xianling asked nonchalantly. Lin Chen stared at Ji Xianling and snorted. "That's what I should be asking you." He shifted his tone and asked, "After staying at the Supreme Sect for a year, any information on Sword Venerable Fudao?" "The information is in my hand. Do you want to see it?" Ji Xianling raised the book in his hand, smiling. Lin Chen immediately confiscated the book, quickly scanning it with his divine sense. He looked up at Ji Xianling and said coldly, "Are you mocking me?" Ji Xianling raised his chin and said, "Lin Chen, who told you that I came to the Supreme Sect to investigate Sword Venerable Fudao?" Lin Chen frowned. Ji Xianling continued. The higher-ups want to be on friendly terms with Sword Venerable Fu Dao. He's likely at loose Immortal Realm 9 layers or even higher. Such a great cultivator couldn't have appeared out of nowhere. He might be from a great sect overseas. Lin Sr.'s death was indeed unfortunate, but it's his fault for not being strong enough. If someone like him, a loose immortal, had to die, I advise you to give up on this idea. Lin Chen sneered coldly. So your faction prefers to endure humiliation? Sword Venerable Fu Dao dared to kill my father. Are you sure he has respect or goodwill towards the 7 stars spirit realm? Ji Xianling shrugged. Why don't you ask him yourself? I don't want to court death. Honestly, our family sent me here to recruit the Supreme Sect, which means recruiting Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Lin Chen's eyes flashed with anger. He threw the book against Ji Xuanling's chest and turned to leave. Ji Xianling grabbed the book, smirking. It'll be dark soon. Be careful if Sword Venerable Fu Dao pats you on the shoulder. Lin Chen stopped and looked back at him, while Ji Xianling raised the book. Next, Lin Chen vanished into thin air. Ji Xianling smiled, and then sat down to continue reading. At night, Lin Chen arrived at the Mountain God Temple where Sage Xian Miao resided to inquire about the Mountain God, suspecting that the Mountain God was Sword Venerable Fu Dao. How could 2 such great cultivators appear simultaneously in the land of 3 dynasties? As a disciple of the 7 stars spirit realm, he had never seen any mention of the Mountain God in ancient records. Lin Chen expressed that the Holy Land wished to recruit the Mountain God, and sent him here for this purpose. Sage Xian Miao was cautious towards him, merely stating that the Mountain God's whereabouts were elusive, and he wished to see the Mountain God himself, which was why he had built the temple there. After inquiring for a long while and getting no satisfactory answers, Lin Chen felt a murderous intent but held back, fearing the Mountain God might be nearby. He suddenly noticed the small wooden figure in Sage Xian Miao's hand and asked, Is this the Mountain God's wooden figure? Can you give it to me? Sage Xian Miao had leisurely carved many small wooden figures of the Mountain God, intending to spread the Mountain God's name. He tossed the wooden figure to Lin Chen. Lin Chen said no more, taking the wooden figure and leaving. Burdened with thoughts, he walked through the forest at night, his eyes fixed on the wooden figure in his hand, increasingly convinced that the Mountain God might be Sword Venerable Fu Dao, his eyes filled with uncontrollable killing intent. Chapter 195 I've spilled the beans. Lin Chen harbors hostility toward you and loathes you to the bone. Would you like to perform a lifespan detection on him? As Guan was writing in the Mystic Valley Pavilion, a line of text suddenly appeared before his eyes. He frowned and chose to perform a lifespan detection on Lin Chen. Lin Chen, Mahayana Realm, 2nd layer 634/4500/4700 Mahayana Realm, 2nd layer? Guan immediately extended his divine sense toward the North Sea Mountain, because there was a cultivator with a Mahayana Realm 2nd layer cultivation there. He quickly caught sight of Lin Chen's figure, who happened to be holding a small wooden figure that bore an exact resemblance to his own. No wonder it triggered the lifespan hostility warning. Guan didn't take action right away. Instead, he expanded the range of his divine sense to ensure that no heaven and earth flying immortal realm cultivators were nearby. Under the cover of night, Lin Chen tossed the small wooden figure into his storage bag, feeling that he couldn't rush in avenging his father. Since he couldn't determine if the Mountain God was Sword Venerable Fu Dao, he could only turn his attention to the Supreme Sect. He didn't dare confront Sword Venerable Fu Dao directly. What he thought about now was how to incite conflict between the heaven and earth flying immortal realm and Sword Venerable Fu Dao. If he could uncover Sword Venerable Fu Dao's true identity, and if Sword Venerable Fu Dao wasn't strong enough to be untouchable by the heaven and earth flying immortal realm, then Sword Venerable Fu Dao would surely die. Lin Chen took a deep breath. Just as he was about to leap into the air, a hand rested on his shoulder. He was overcome with a feeling of falling into an abyss, his spiritual power freezing instantly. His pupils widened, a wave of indescribable terror rising in his heart. The sky's getting darker. Beware of Sword Venerable Fu Dao patting your shoulder. Ji Xuanling's words echoed in his ears. At this moment, he was petrified with terror. Unable to move, he wanted to plead for mercy, but he couldn't even open his mouth. The mysterious hand pressed firmly on his shoulder, making no further move, which only compounded his fear, plunging his heart into despair. Suddenly, from behind came a sigh. Lin Chen couldn't help but feel a strange kind of relief. Did the other person not intend to kill him? Boom. An overwhelming divine sense rushed into his mind, causing him to lose consciousness instantly. With the turn of the ancient hour, Guan walked down the stairs, joining the disciples for exercises. Last night, he reaped 384 years of lifespan, but more importantly he gathered crucial information. Within the heaven and earth flying immortal realm, there were two attitudes toward Sword Venerable Fu Dao. One was to investigate his identity and if he was not insurmountable, find a way to lure him out and then annihilate him. The second was to actively recruit him, compensating for the loss of startling immortal Lin, and covering up their crimes. The latter was primarily worried that Sword Venerable Fu Dao might be associated with maritime forces. The Lin family's strongest force was only a loose immortal, and the death of startling immortal Lin was a severe blow to them, severing their upward path. Their hatred for Sword Venerable Fu Dao was profound, continuously pushing for revenge within the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. However, the higher-ups' attitude was ambiguous, forcing Lin Chen, as the direct offspring of the startling immortal Lin, to leave the territory to investigate Sword Venerable Fu Dao. This intelligence was favorable for Guan. At least, it confirmed that without knowing his true identity, the heaven and earth flying immortal realm wouldn't act recklessly, allowing him to continue biding his time. Notably, the current 7 Stars spirit realm on the continent was mainly led by the 6 Stars Cave. The Lin and Ji families originated from the 6 Stars Cave, but continent geniuses could only enter the 7 Stars Cave for cultivation. The 5-star caves above them were all overseas. This heightened Guan's wariness towards the 7 Stars spirit realm. He was facing a power far surpassing the ephemera sect. The 7 Stars spirit realm was not only stronger, but maintained a Holy Land image, executing their plans seamlessly, making it difficult for an individual to shake their foundation. Even if heaven and earth flying immortal could sweep through the 6 Stars Cave and 7 Stars Cave, how would one face the 5-star caves above? Guan cast aside these thoughts, focusing on his practice, listening to the disciples discuss their plans for the day. His mood lightened. Why worry so much? His identity was well hidden. As long as he didn't reveal himself, the 7 Stars spirit realm wouldn't dare act rashly. Cherish the present. Have you heard? Next year, there's going to be the world's best Sword Dao tournament. A female disciple suddenly spoke, stirring everyone's interest. They began discussing the world's best Sword Dao tournament. Guan occasionally interjected, appearing very enthusiastic, dreaming of the tournament. After all, outwardly, he was just a foundation establishment realm cultivator. Next year, he planned to advance to the 9th layer of foundation establishment. Then, after turning 100, he would form his core. Forming a core before the age of 100 marked a genius. Doing so afterward painted him as a mediocre cultivator relying on elixirs to break through. Near noon, Yilan came to find him. Senior brother, Zhenqin has dramatically changed over the past 2 years, becoming silent and introspective. I can't understand her lately. I've noticed her investigating the ghost mother of ephemera. Could she still have lingering feelings for Suhan? Yilan said anxiously after closing the door. Guan knew the reason but couldn't disclose it, nor could he stop Zhenqin from seeking revenge. Currently, the ghost mother of ephemera and the 9 Nether 13 Evil were following Jiang Qiong into the Great Jiang dynasty, establishing a sect named Juhua sect, without much notoriety. Zhenqin needed to face life on her own to grow better. Of course, if she ever confronted the ghost mother of ephemera and couldn't win, Guan would protect her, as she hadn't deviated from the right path. She's grown up and has her own thoughts. Don't worry too much, Guan comforted. Yilan came closer, speaking in a low voice. I always feel she has a higher cultivation hidden. Could she have been possessed? Or did she take a mysterious master? Senior brother, don't you have connections with Sword Venerable Fu Dao? Can you ask him to investigate? Guan shook his head. I haven't seen him for a long time. Remember, do not mention Sword Venerable Fudao. His name carries too much weight now. Many strong enemies might be plotting against him. With our cultivation level, we can't involve ourselves, or we will be doomed. As he spoke, he released mana from his feet, isolating the room to prevent eavesdropping. Yilan nodded. I understand. I never dare to mention it, only to you. Her steadiness reassured Guan. Most importantly, Yilan's activity range was within his divine sense. The Foundation Establishment realm cultivators of the Supreme Sect could never escape his divine sense range for life. Such was the brutal reality of cultivation differences. Yilan began talking about other matters, mainly about some trivial issues in the law enforcement hall. Guan listened intently. When she finished, Guan said, "If you're uncomfortable, let me know. I'll find you a better position." Yilan raised an eyebrow. Senior brother, do you really have that capability? She knew about the Third Medicine Valley's existence, but couldn't access specific details about it. She wasn't sure how much Guan contributed to the Supreme Sect. She even suspected Guan of growing medicinal herbs for Sword Venerable Fudao, which explained why he often left Mystic Valley. Guan pulled out a book, tossing it onto the table. "I'm revealing my cards." It was the initial draft of Investiture of the Gods, a treasured edition without a cover. Yilan's face turned pale instantly. She asked in a trembling voice, "Senior brother, did you write that book?" "Hum." Guan crossed his arms, raising his chin arrogantly. Yilan glared at Guan angrily asking, "Senior brother, if you had such great needs, why did you reject me? Is your heart set on someone in the valley?" Guan was stunned, taken aback by her sudden outburst. He looked down, realized something, and quickly picked up Investiture of the Gods, flipping it open. "Look closely. Junior sister, what are you thinking all day?" "Senior brother must criticize you a bit." Yilan only needed to glance at a couple of lines to recognize the book. She widened her eyes in shock. "You wrote Investiture of the Gods? Are you Panin?" Guan shook his head, giving her a look that said he couldn't believe her misunderstanding. Her face turned red. She circled the table, grabbing his shoulders and gently shaking him. "Senior brother," she said coquettishly. 2 ancient hours later, Yilan opened the door and walked downstairs. Lu Jujia saw her and smiled, greeting her. Yilan kept a stern face, nodded slightly, and then flew away using her sword. Lu Jujia was used to her demeanor. After all, staying in the law enforcement hall for a long time tended to make one serious. Days of leisure passed by. Guan wandered among the various medicine valleys, occasionally visiting the Outer Gate City and Intersect City, living a comfortable life. However, the increasing demonic chi from afar indicated the day when the evil demon would break the seal was approaching. Guan hesitated whether he should break through to the heaven and earth flying immortal realm early to avoid mishaps. After thinking it over, he decided to break through at sea by the end of the year. Better safe than sorry. Summer gave way to autumn. Because of the upcoming World's Best Sword Dao tournament, more sword cultivators started arriving at the Supreme Sect, causing sword competition signs to appear around Mystic Valley. Fortunately, Sword Venerable Fudao was hidden in the nearest Outer Gate City, deterring these sword cultivators from bullying the servant disciples. After noon in the Third Medicine Valley, Guan stood with his hands behind his back, watching the disciples sweeping the grounds. The white spirit rat was frolicking in a pile of fallen leaves, infuriating an Xian, but always eluding her capture. Everything felt perfect. Guan's lips curved into a smile. As he was appreciating the beautiful scene, he suddenly sensed something and turned to look north. Beyond 3 dynasties, a strange heavenly aura appeared above a river that cut through the mountains. It resembled the celestial aura that appeared when Lu Lingjun ascended. Someone else was ascending? Guan thought to himself. He sensed this celestial aura was slightly stronger than when Lu Lingjun ascended, but not strong enough to make him wary. He previously speculated Lu Lingjun's successful ascension was due to his presence nearby during his breakthrough. Would there be special circumstances around this ascender? Guan's divine sense began scanning the forests within a 1,000-mile radius, his gaze suddenly locking onto a stele hidden in the grass. The steel contained restrictions only breakable by Mahayana realm cultivators, concealed without any leakage of aura. Interesting. Guan had no intention of investigating further, as he already saw many great cultivators heading toward the place where the ascender would descend. Chapter 196. Being someone's mount after ascending? The demon lands in autumn were covered with golden leaves, like a sea of gold. Liya stood on the North Sea heavy sword, flying through the air, while Zhang Buku stood behind him, staring into the distance. Zhang Buku saw a figure in the distance flying towards the horizon at a speed far beyond theirs, the powerful aura of their cultivation level making him secretly astonished. Brotherly, are we really going to get involved in this mess? Zhang Buku couldn't help but ask. Liya had been his first friend. This past year, they had ventured through the demon lands together, facing life and death, forming a deep bond, but it was easy to get hurt. Even though they often got injured, being able to rely on each other was far better than going it alone. The fierce wind blew against Liya's face, and he showed a smile on his handsome and resolute face. He said, "So many great cultivators are rushing there, let's go take a look. We won't fight yet, we'll observe quietly. If there's no opportunity, we'll just watch the excitement, but if there is one, all the better." Zhang Buku heard this and found it reasonable. He looked ahead, eyes showing a hint of anticipation. On the other side, Guan was not continuously watching the Ascension land, but had begun to busy himself. He was preparing to expand Nianchu Cave. Nianchu Cave, watched over by Tian Yaoer, truly belonged to him. Apart from the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, the other medicine valleys were mostly exposed, making direct expansion difficult. He entered Nianchu Cave and used his own mana to enlarge it. Tian Yaoer watched Guan's back, her little mouth opened wide, while Tian Qing and Tian Bai squatted on her shoulders, shaking their heads as they watched Guan. Guan walked in front of the mountain wall, his right hand leading the way, and with each step, the mountain wall ahead would cave in without any rocks falling or the cave shaking. This ability left Tian Yaoer's eyes wide with amazement. She always knew Guan was strong but hadn't realized just how formidable. Even after training for many years, she couldn't comprehend Guan's divine skills. In the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Nianchu Cave had doubled in size. Since Heavenly Phoenix Mountain was particularly large, it wouldn't affect the mountain body, and further expansions by 10 times would be no problem in the future. Guan arrived at a stone table, placed down a storage bag, and said, "These are all seeds, up to you to plant them. Don't disappoint me." Without waiting for Tian Yaoer to respond, he vanished into thin air. Tian Yaoer didn't look at the storage bag, but instead mimicked Guan's earlier posture, raising her right hand and carefully recalling his movements. The moon set and the sun rose, ushering in a new day. When Liya finished setting up the formation, they both sat down and exhaled in relief. Liya grinned. Even with a face full of blood, his excitement was evident. He raised his right hand, pulling a fist-sized golden fruit from his storage bag. "With this, our efforts weren't in vain," Liya said contentedly. Zhang Buku wiped the blood and sweat from his face, saying admiringly, "Brotherly, you're amazing. You were so fast those great cultivators didn't notice you seeing the treasure. We're brothers, half each. I can feel the power within this fruit. It's definitely a treasure that can transform the body." Liya laughed proudly, enjoying Zhang Buku's gaze. Although he couldn't beat Zhang Buku in combat, he could play the big brother in actions. As they excitedly talked, little did they know, several miles away, the Blood Prison Great Saint was silently approaching, already hearing their conversation, and Liya's formation was as good as non-existent to him. The Blood Prison Great Saint's mouth curled up in a sneer. At that moment, a hand rested on his shoulder, instantly freezing his demonic power, and his body could no longer move forward. His eyes widened, instinctively wanting to struggle, but he was entirely powerless. How could this be? What realm was this opponent at? The Blood Prison Great Saint panicked. He had never been so suppressed before, with even his divine sense unable to spread out. clueless about who was behind him. Naturally, it was Guan who had used the 9 extremes yin-yang body. Before attacking, Guan ensured that no one was following the Blood Prison Great Saint. Blood Prison Great Saint, Mahayana Realm 8th floor 1209/9000/9999, Mahayana Realm 8th floor. Far stronger than Lu Lingjun. Guan immediately used the soul-capturing skill to search the Blood Prison Great Saint's memories. The Blood Prison Great Saint hailed from the spirit realm, a mortal world with 9 continents and 7 seas, where the Mahayana realm was the highest realm. He had been a cultivator of the human race, later transforming into a demon body after obtaining divine beast true blood, completely unleashing his talent, sweeping through those of the same realm, even able to battle across realms, invincible. Interestingly, although the Blood Prison Great Saint's name sounded terrifying, he was actually a soft-hearted individual. As long as there wasn't a blood feud, he would spare those who knelt and begged for mercy after defeat. He had never committed an evil act in his life. His notorious name stemmed from his foul mouth. His threatening boasts made many believe he had committed those evil acts, compounded by slander from enemies, gradually earning him the Blood Prison Great Saint title, which he proudly saw as the fear and dread of the spirit realm's beings, his greatest achievement. After reading his soul, Guan unexpectedly didn't want to kill this guy anymore. With no one watching him, he could take him in. Because Guan saw the divine beast's true form whose blood was absorbed. With the fall of the demon ancestor, many demons were slaughtered, and the demon lands had become a place where the human race sought opportunities, with great cultivators fighting everywhere. The focus of the 7-star spirit realm was on the evil demons, ignoring the Blood Prison Great Saint, perhaps having seen countless ascenders. The Blood Prison Great Saint's consciousness gradually awakened, feeling a heavy and uncomfortable drowsiness. He struggled to open his eyes, seeing a large tree with a man sitting on the grass in front of it, holding a book. He abruptly opened his eyes wide, trying to teleport away, but only managed to stand up, not jump away. He seemed to realize something, his eyes showing panic. He had turned into a red-furred bull, almost as tall as a grown man. He wanted to speak, but all that came out was a moo. The most despairing thing was that his cultivation level was gone. This must be the path of returning primordial spirit. Guan had sealed his cultivation to the energy cultivation realm, with mana wrapping his demon core and primordial spirit, making him appear no more than a first-order demon beast. Ascender from the spirit realm, if you serve me for 1,000 years, I'll let you go. Guan put down his book and said leisurely. Looking at his youthful face, the Blood Prison Great Saint felt only fear. Guan stood up and walked toward him, making him retreat in fear. Without his cultivation, how could he dare escape? Eventually, he was caught by Guan and humiliatingly ridden. Guan sat on his back, patting him, pointing in a direction. He could only move forward. By dusk, Guan had ridden the Blood Prison Great Saint back to the Mystic Valley. With his dark red fur and majestic body, he instantly drew the curiosity of numerous disciples, who gathered around, pointing. The Blood Prison Great Saint was dazed. With his divine sense sealed, he had worried all the way about which demon cave he would be taken to. Yet, these cultivators' chi blood was so weak, seemingly all in the energy cultivation realm. He felt like he had arrived in some small place in the spirit realm. As Guan introduced him to the disciples with a smile, this feeling of illusion became a mix of complex emotions. He was the Blood Prison Great Saint, the most outstanding genius of the spirit realm in 10,000 years, sweeping the 9 continents and 7 seas, reigning invincible, earning the title of Great Saint through his battles. Yet, after ascending, he had become a mount? The Blood Prison Great Saint sank into bewilderment. Chapter 197 The ambition of the Supreme Sect. Guan flaunted his new mount, attracting the disciples' curiosity towards the Blood Prison Great Saint, causing him to feel quite oppressed. But fearing Guan, he could only endure. Even Chu Jingfeng, who usually practiced swordsmanship on the mountaintop, came to join the fun. He had seen many mounts, but it was his first time seeing such an imposing ox. Its large horns were impressive, and its fur fluttered like flames in the wind. After lingering in the Mystic Valley for an hour, Guan took the Blood Prison Great Saint back to the Third Medicine Valley. He planned to take the Blood Prison Great Saint with him wherever he went around the Supreme Sect. Now, the number of cultivators in the Supreme Sect was increasing, and it was possible to see cultivators riding their mounts in the sky. The disciples of the Third Medicine Valley were equally interested in the Blood Prison Great Saint. The presence of such spiritual energy in this valley amazed the Blood Prison Great Saint, as such a level of spiritual energy was rare even in the spirit realm, making him look forward to the days ahead. Since he came, he might as well find peace. But just one night later, that thought was replaced by anger. There was an incredibly fat old rat in the Medicine Valley. Damn it, it was infuriating. He was napping downstairs when the white spirit rat bit his butt, startling him. As an invincible great saint in his realm, how could he tolerate this? What frustrated him even more was yet to happen. He couldn't catch the white spirit rat. That night was the darkest moment in the Blood Prison Great Saint's life. The next day, Guan took the Blood Prison Great Saint to Tianya Valley. Why are you riding an ox? Luo Hun approached the Blood Prison Great Saint and asked curiously, unable to resist touching its fur. Guan smiled and said, just bought it. How is it? Impressive, right? Indeed, quite nice. What breed is it? I'm not sure either. I call him Bull Demon King. Bull Demon King? That name. Luo Hun shook his head with a smile, while the Blood Prison Great Saint lowered his ox eyes, looking dispirited. LV Xian and Jirualai were also attracted to the Blood Prison Great Saint, and came over to greet Guan. Given the plethora of demon creatures in the world, they didn't inquire much further. Have you seen my third sister lately? Jirualai asked Guan. Guan shook his head and said, no, I rarely go to the inner sect. What's the matter? Need me to deliver a message? Jirualai nodded and said, the family wants to summon her back to the 7-star spirit realm. Could you help convey the message? Guan readily agreed, and then went to pick medicinal herbs. 3 monkey demons circled the Blood Prison Great Saint with great curiosity. Seeing their scratching and sniffing, the Blood Prison Great Saint felt they were mocking him, making him even more annoyed. It became even more difficult after ascending for the 3rd day. In late autumn, LV Batian came to see Guan. After going upstairs, he habitually closed the door and set up a restriction. After finishing, he approached the desk and sat down, smiling as he asked, is the ox downstairs yours? Its qualifications are a bit lacking. It's just a 1st order. It's not very useful. Do you want me to give you a 3rd order mount? Guan shook his head and smiled. No need. I don't have many enemies. I don't need such a powerful mount. Besides, I have a good eye for this ox. It's quite intelligent. Intelligent? Looking at its eyes, it seems like it's about to be buried. Haha. Guan chuckled without denying. LV Batian didn't continue to mock the Blood Prison Great Saint, and started discussing sect matters. Although the number 1 Sword Dao tournament in the world had not yet taken place, he already looked forward to the next big event. Guan's love for teaching was aroused, and he began to talk at length about various ideas, which LV Batian listened to with great interest. Guan not only discussed methods but also envisioned a bright future, making LV Batian feel quite pleased. After a long time, taking advantage of Guan drinking tea, LV Batian asked, how do you think the Supreme Sect should view demons? During the previous Great Demon Calamity, the Demon Emperor had sent a group of great demons. This group of demons was now still staying in the Supreme Sect, following Dixie's leadership. The Supreme Sect had not mistreated them, arranging caves for each. Guan responded, sometimes human hearts are worse than demon hearts. Since we are already cultivating to become immortals, why should we have racial prejudice? Why can't the Supreme Sect recruit demon clan disciples? LV Batian nodded. He sighed and said, but doing so, wouldn't there be hidden dangers? Everything has its pros and cons. We can't avoid doing something just because we fear the cons. If successful, it can set an example, making the human and demon clans on the mainland no longer be at odds. If it fails, then treat it as a training exercise, suppress it if necessary. Isn't suppression what you were best at in the past? Guan said calmly. With this, he aimed to accumulate strength for the Supreme Sect. The Supreme Sect eventually has to face the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Ji Xianling represented the Seven Stars Spirit Realm in trying to win over the Supreme Sect, but the Supreme Sect only maintained good relations without bowing down, reflecting the attitude of the Hall of Elders. Now the mentality of the upper echelons of the Supreme Sect had become inflated. They were already thinking about becoming the second Holy Land in the mainland, or even surpassing the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Lu Lingjun hesitated for a while and said, "To be honest, I'm also an ascender, so I wanted you to write about the Shattering Void." Gu An's eyes widened, showing a look of incredulity. The Blood Prison Great Saint looked up again, this time with tears in his eyes. Lu Lingjun had wanted to say this for a long time. The opportunities over the years had made her more confident as she said, "I want to recruit ascenders and build my own network in the Supreme Sect. What do you think?" She knew LV Batian often visited the Medicine Valley, and she had often heard about LV Batian's plans from Guan. She also wanted to convey her intentions to LV Batian. Through Guan. Guan excitedly said, "Of course it is a good thing. It will enhance the strength of the Supreme Sect. However, I really don't have any information on that ascender." Hearing this, the Blood Prison Great Saint was full of confusion. He could tell now that no one knew the true cultivation level of the person on his back. Moreover, the cultivators he had seen so far were very weak, not even reaching the first-class level in the spirit realm. He couldn't understand why a great cultivator like Guan would hide in such a small place. In the future, keep an eye out for such information. And I won't treat you unfairly, Lu Lingjun said. She had to devote most of her time to cultivation. Since the appearance of beings in the Mahayana realm and the immortal path, she felt a great urgency, thinking the mystic heart realm was inadequate. Guan nodded with a smile. They had a brief chat before Lu Lingjun left. Guan patted the Blood Prison Great Saint, signaling him to continue forward. People always want to go to places they've never been before, but when they arrive, they find it's all the same. When they want to turn back, it's often too late. Guan said leisurely, and the Blood Prison Great Saint felt he was speaking to him. Unfortunately, the Blood Prison Great Saint couldn't speak. Otherwise, he would argue with Guan. If it weren't for meeting you, would I be so aggrieved? The falling snow grew heavier, the ground accumulating more snow. The Blood Prison Great Saint left 2 ox hoof prints in the snowy ground as he and Guan disappeared into the vast snow. Until nightfall. Demon Land. On the wasteland, Xiantiani and Anhao sat facing the fire. The falling snow did not land on them, melting in the 10-foot radius around them, separated from the surrounding snowy ground. Xiantiani held a book and softly said, "The demonic qi here is very strong. Maybe we'll find evil demons hiding nearby." And Hao was practicing his skills. He opened his eyes and asked, "Senior, what should we do when we find the evil demon?" After the trend of heading north swept the world, he couldn't restrain his restless heart anymore. Saying goodbye to Sienner, he ventured north alone. His goal was to become an immortal and not stay in one place for any person indefinitely. Xiantiani answered, "Then you take the information back. I will stay here alone." "Why would you stay?" "I also want to play the hero. I can't always rely on Sword Venerable Fudao, can I?" As he spoke, Xiantiani turned to the next page and continued to read. Chapter 198. Master understands you deep in the night. Inside the Mystic Valley Pavilion, candlelight flickered, and hot tea was brewing. Zhen Qin sat dazedly on a small stool, staring at the teapot and lost in thought. Guan was writing a book. After he finished a page, he started to appreciate it, feeling increasingly pleased with his work. "Disciple, come and have a look." Gu An's voice interrupted Zhen Qin's thoughts. Zhen Qin quickly stood up, walked to his side, took the page from his hand, and read it attentively. "The 7 Great Saints. Great Sage who pacifies heaven, Bull Demon King?" Zhen Qin couldn't help but look at Guan and asked, "Master, isn't your bull downstairs the Bull Demon King? Did you write him into the book?" Guan chuckled and asked, "Is that not allowed?" "Of course it is, but your writing style." Zhenqin nodded, her expression a bit hesitant. "Does Master have such talent?" Upon thinking about it, she realized that since Master didn't cultivate, he must have time for music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. After finishing reading, she handed the page back to Guan and said, "It's very well written. Just this part alone feels no worse than the investiture of the gods. Master, are you planning to publish a book? I hope you can surpass Pannin." Before she could finish her sentence, she suddenly widened her eyes in astonishment and looked at Guan Pannin. "Guan." Zhenqin's expression turned peculiar, and she quickly asked, "Master, could you actually be Pannin?" Guan smiled and said, "This is my biggest secret. I'm only telling you. Can you tell Master what's troubling you?" Guan could feel that Zhenqin came today wanting to share her troubles but was afraid of something, so he revealed his identity as Pannin to draw her out. Although he already knew the truth, he couldn't expose his identity, and what Zhenqin needed was to confide in someone close by. Zhenqin gritted her teeth and said, "I'm afraid of dragging Master into this. If you don't say anything and something happens, you'll not only drag me into it, but it will also become my burden. That would harm me more." Guan shook his head. Zhenqin felt relieved and smiled for the first time. At Guan's gesture, she moved to the other side of the desk and began to talk about Su Han's death. Guan got up to pour tea, and Zhenqin's gaze followed his back, trying to see his reaction. However, she couldn't see through anything. Had Master already let go of senior brother Su? Zhenqin thought to herself. She couldn't blame Guan. She owed Su Han for covering for her, but her master owed him nothing. Guan brought a bowl of hot tea in front of her, looking at her calmly as she spoke. When she finished, Guan said, "The deceased have passed. You should live according to his wishes, not inherit his hatred. But think about what he said to you before he died." "What do you think he hoped for you to do?" Guan interrupted her and asked solemnly. Zhenqin remained silent. Guan continued, "Let alone whether you can defeat the ghost mother of ephemera, the world is so vast. Are you going to spend your whole life searching for her? Cultivate well, and experience the world your senior brother wanted to see. Do the things he couldn't achieve. That is truly good for him. There is a divine intent in the unseen world. Your senior brother ultimately attracted a body of sins, but inheriting his power means you share his fate, whether for good or ill. It's all up to your intentions." Zhenqin was filled with countless thoughts, her expression complex. Guan was not rushed. He merely provided guidance. To let go, she needed to rely on herself. Zhenqin looked up at Guan. Now in her eyes he seemed very weak. Since inheriting Su Han's cultivation, Zhenqin had already formed her nascent soul, and her cultivation level was still growing. It was inevitable she saw others from a superior viewpoint, but tonight, she felt deeply ashamed. What use was mere cultivation level? She took a deep breath and asked, "Master, if I perform good deeds, will it really help senior brother Su?" Guan answered, "I am not sure, but at least this way, you can free yourself and fulfill his wishes." Zhenqin chuckled, instantly returning to her usual lively and mischievous demeanor. "Master, you are Pannin. You hit it well. Earlier, I even thought you were the author of the Supreme Secret Records." "Ahem, nonsense. How could Master be such a person?" "Wait. Does she also read the Supreme Secret Records?" Guan's expression turned peculiar. Shenzhen truly was a scourge, corrupting so many people. Zhenqin snorted. "Who told Master to love reading Green Hero Travelogue? They are all rumors. Don't believe them." The master and disciple duo began to argue. A long while passed. Guan spoke, defying fate. "Divine skill, Master knows. Someone wants to pass it on to me. I can put in a good word for you, allowing you to become a true disciple and embark on a proper immortal cultivation path." Zhenqin was once again shocked, not expecting her master to have such an opportunity. "Master, who is it? Are they powerful?" Zhenqin asked curiously. "Sect leader LV Batian, do you think he's powerful?" "Yes. Does that mean, Master, you will become a great cultivator of the unification realm in the future?" "I did not agree. and his lifespan is long. Perhaps he will live longer than your master. This matter cannot be spread, to avoid trouble. I understand, master. To be honest, I am now a nascent soul realm cultivator. These years, hiding my cultivation level has been really uncomfortable. Zhenqin began to complain. Guan laughed and said, Master understands you. How do you understand? Fine, I do not understand. Can Master hit you for daring to show off to Master? The master and disciple again started to bicker. Chapter 199. Breakthrough to the 9th level of Heaven and Earth Flying Immortal Realm. You cultivated an energy absorption for 390,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the 2nd layer of the Heavenly Flying Immortal Realm. You cultivated an energy absorption for 400,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the 3rd layer of the Heavenly Flying Immortal Realm. You cultivated an energy absorption for 420,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the 4th layer of the Heavenly Flying Immortal Realm. You cultivated an energy absorption for 500,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the 8th layer of the Heavenly Flying Immortal Realm. Seeing all the indications fall, Guan summarized the pattern and invested another 30,000 years of his lifespan, successfully reaching the 9th layer of the Heavenly Flying Immortal Realm. At the same time, nature's spiritual energy already bore into his body, symbolizing the start of his breakthrough. It felt so comfortable. Guan considered whether to spend another 30,000 years of lifespan to foresee the name of the next realm, but then thought it would be futile. For what use was knowing a name? The surrounding forest began to shake violently as the spiritual energy of heaven and earth descended. The ground beneath Guan showed signs of a qi, and the speed at which spiritual energy entered his body became faster. He began to imagine the heavenly flying immortal realm. What is the difference between a wandering immortal and a heavenly flying immortal? Guan looked at the sky. In the depths of his mind, he felt it was related to the heavens. After reaching the wandering immortal realm, he could sense a certain power from the heavens suppressing all beings, making it impossible to leave. Wandering immortals could break free from the constraints of heaven and earth rules, but could not escape the suppression from the heavenly power above. Boom! The speed at which spiritual energy entered his body reached an unprecedented level, even making Guan somewhat alarmed. How wide a range of spiritual energy was needed for this? It didn't take long for the entire continent's living creatures to be startled, with birds flying chaotically, beasts fleeing wildly, and the earth trembling. Guan did not bother to worry about the commotion, as a large amount of immortal insights poured into his body. Heavenly flying immortal. One can leap beyond heaven and earth, roam the universe. One can peep into yin and yang and control the 5 elements. Upon reaching this level, one must delve into the path of 5 elements to progress further. The heaven and earth primordial skill Guan practiced was precisely a 5 elements cultivation technique, so his breakthrough went smoothly. Could she be a genius? This creation could indeed shock the immortal cultivation world. It was incredible. Damn it, it was outrageous. Xinjun raised an eyebrow, smiling. How is it? Isn't the idea of making pictures move like real people amazing? Guan didn't know how to respond. Immortal cultivation world anime? But this anime was too lifelike, no different from real people. Using such design in the Supreme Secret Records plot was truly impactful. Guan resisted the tumult in his heart, asking, "Who is the male cultivator in it?" Xinjun looked at him, blinking. "I didn't use your face, but thinking of other men was too uncomfortable for me, so I had him wear a mask." Guan fell silent. No wonder the mask. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.